morning, so the 16th I'll be here. And I won't be here the first meeting in August. Well, we're staying in Montreal. They might kick me out. I've been there since the 80s when I played ball there.
Okay.
My wife had never been there.
Is it a reunion?
Sort of, yeah, there's 11 of us.
Like
Their
your
wives. Whoever they want.
double or triple?
I played MLB. Played AAA in Indianapolis. Indians. Only 8 weeks out of 7 years. Two times was a rehab.
So you played. Pretty cool. Didn't know that. Tell me those stories. That should be. Last week we were in Pittsburgh. My brother and I go every year. We saw the Pirates play 3 games. We won 2 or 3 against the Mariners. But
So you saw Randy.
This is the Citrus County Planning and Development Commission public hearing for July 2nd, 2026. If you would like to join us at this time, I invite you to please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, please give us the grace to be understanding, patient, and tolerant. With these attributes, we can conduct our work in a manner which will be pleasing to Thee, our county, and its residents. In the Lord's name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the courtesy of the applicants, the board, and those around you at this time, we ask you please place all cellular devices on mute. Ms. Faulkner?
Good morning. The following Planning and Development Commission members are present. Chair David Bramblett, Jeanette Collins, First Vice Chair, Michael Facemeyer, Second Vice Chair, Richard Barmez, Robert Shera, and alternate Janice Murphy.
Thank you. Is this? There we go. If any person decides to appeal any decision made by the commission with respect to any matter considered at this hearing, he or she will need a record of the proceedings for such purpose. He or she may need to ensure that a verbatim record of the proceedings is made, which record includes testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based. During the public input portions of the meeting, individuals are given 3 minutes and representatives of an organization are given 5. When anyone wishing to speak comes to the podium, please complete a yellow form to hand to the recording secretary. Please print your name, address, and the number of the application for which you are speaking on the form. The yellow forms are at the podium by the door. If representing an organization, a letter of authorization must accompany the speaker. Comments will be limited to the topic being heard. Please state your name, spell your last name, and give your address for the taped record. At this time, we'll have the public portion of the meeting. This is an opportunity to come forward and address the commission on any issues that you may wish. This is not for the public comment portion for any of the applications being heard. You will have an opportunity for that. Is there anyone present? So you can, if you're here to speak on something that's part of an application, an item on the agenda, you will have a public speaking portion during that time. If you want to speak on something unrelated to the 2 topics on the agenda today, the podium is yours.
That's a long wait. 3 minutes. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry the process doesn't work for you.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Denise. I'm at
Last name, please.
Denise Isensee, and I'm at Oakton Street in Hernando 34442. My concern is not about a specific property. It is about protecting the zoning categories we already have in place. I appreciate all your time. Local developers are rushing to secure project approvals. They prioritize speed over careful planning. This creates a competitive land rush where long-term community impacts are ignored. Once a plan unit development is approved, you cannot simply do a take back if you make a mistake. I built my retirement home in Citrus County because I love its hometown feel and its people. I had to follow strict rules for my single home on 1.17 acres. If my land was a part of a plan unit development, the rules would allow six homes on that same piece of land. That's not a fair playing field. The comprehensive plan legally requires the county to maintain the character of existing residential neighborhoods. When developers change how huge pieces of land are used, it changes the character of our hometown forever. Our official land development code and comprehensive plan are our rule books. They are designed for smart, sustainable growth that puts the environment and community first. Cramming high-density housing into a piece of land means paving over natural spaces that absorb water. A denser site will increase runoff, cause localized flooding, and destroy wildlife habitats for protected local species. I urge the Planning and Development Commission to advise the Board of County Commissioners to pause. We need a 2-year freeze on all land use applications, rezoning, or PUD requests over 50 acres. This break will give our local infrastructure time to catch up. I call out to the citizens to come together like they did for the data center and initiate a charter amendment for public vote over 50 acres to safeguard the nature coast. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? We're going to close that public portion of the meeting. Sorry.
I'm just a homeowner in this area.
Please state your name and your address for the record.
My name is Catherine Simons. My address is 3130 East Oakton Street in Hernando, 34442. And I oppose it, not because I oppose growth, but I oppose unsustainable growth. And 6 houses per acre is a city. And I did my due diligence when I bought our property. It was zoned agriculture. We have people in our neighborhood that have farm animals. The first thing they will do is complain because they stink. Well, I'm from a farm community. It don't bother me. But 6 houses per acre, we're in a water collection area. Who's gonna fill the aquifers if we have rooftops and blacktops all over Citrus County? We're running out of property. We have a lot of houses already planned and land zoned for houses. Don't change this. We don't have the infrastructure. The roads are filled. If we have an accident on 75, 241 is backed up. They're backed up for miles. We didn't know if we were going to get home one day because we couldn't make a left-hand turn into our property because of the traffic. It's not sustainable to have 6 houses per acre. It just, the air pollution, the noise, and the roads can't handle the capacity. Do not rezone this, please. Thank you. The people that purchased this knew what the zoning was when they purchased it. Now they want to change it. And being this election year, they're going to go for it. I worked for a company that was a let's say, when it was election time, they just called them up and told them bring their checkbooks because they were putting their money to the people that would approve what they wanted. And it wasn't, wait for the check, you bring your checkbook and write the check so we can take the check so they know where it come from. That's what, I was a account bookkeeper for many years for the subcontractor. So, that's all I have to say.
Mr. Chair, that appeared to be related to the second item on your agenda.
Yes,
What was
yes.
that?
Thank you for your time, Ms. Simons. Just so you guys know, if you want to speak on any of the items on the agenda, we have your name where you will not be able to speak on the item on the agenda when the actual item comes up. So if you want to take your time now, that's fine, but you don't get double time. Anyone else?
So just to confirm, you're now letting us speak directly about like any.
If you want to speak on an item on the agenda, that's your prerogative, but you won't be able to come up and speak on the same item when the actual topic is heard.
Okay.
Okay?
I just changed it to make it generic so that I could speak now, but now I can speak directly. Okay, cool. All right, hello, my name is Tracy Landry from Hernando. I heard about the proposed River Oaks project. I can't wrap my head around why anyone would want to build a resort-style community in Hernando. It's the third poorest area in the county. It could possibly back up to a heavy industrial project. If that gets approved, there's already 9,000 people there. It doesn't even include any of the people that live in the woods. And according to Niche.com, it's considered to be the 4,728th best place to retire in America, which means there are thousands of better places to build this gentrification project that will only increase our property taxes, create problems for many low-income residents, and create even more of a burden for that area, since we do not have the traffic infrastructure to support several thousand more people. That area has daily congestion and becomes inundated whenever 75 has issues and everyone takes a detour down 200. It is an incompatible land use and far exceeds the density requirements for the current LDR zoning. They are trying to squeeze anywhere between 2.5 to 6 homes onto 1 acre of land. That's the kind of density where you can reach out your bathroom window and borrow your neighbor's shampoo. Then there's a 45 to 65% ISR. How is that going to affect runoff, and what impact will that have on the surrounding area? A higher SRI should not be granted. Then they have proposed a 15-foot buffer. That is not enough of a transition between the different zones. For example, on page 19 of the applicant's PowerPoint, the map shows the southern part of the project where the homes are practically in the backyard of some Tanglewood property owners. Then there's the wet retention area. Is this just going to be another breeding ground for mosquitoes? River Oaks will only suck up more resources. Our aquifer is low enough, and I can only water my plants once a week until October. How can that support 667 more homes? And what about electricity? We already get blackouts during storms. Page 26 of their PowerPoint addresses 17.15.9 of the comprehensive plan. The county shall establish standards to address compatibility between adjacent land uses and within neighborhoods and larger districts. But they left out the rest of it. Compatibility standards shall address at a minimum land use density, land use intensity, and buffering, and to ensure that new development and redevelopment is consistent with the character of its environs. This increased density, intensity, and buffering is not compatible with the current environment. It's very different from the other places I've lived, but the area is filled with great people who show up for the neighbors, love their community, and wouldn't want to live anywhere else. This area has historically been LDR, and it should remain that way. Please stop building and overdeveloping Citrus County and trying to take away any small piece of rural life we have. Please do not support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we will close that portion of the public meeting. We do not have any minutes. Staff announcements?
Yeah, just another public service announcement because it's still happening. If you have a pending application with Citrus County and you get an email with a bill on any, or even a closed application, you get an email with a bill that's asking you to pay by wire or to a bank account or by Venmo or by PayPal or any other thing besides the county's permitting portal. It's a scam, and it's still happening. They had my name on it, then they had Mr. Landon's name, now they have Mr. Bramlett's name. Mr. Bramlett does not send out bills. He's not going to be sending out any bills. That's not part of his purview. Pick up the phone and call us. There's not a phone number on these scam emails, so look it up. It's our main number, 527-5310. We will tell you immediately it's a scam. Do not pay it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Lynn?
Good morning. Good morning. With regard to the applications before you,
is on.
I don't think any of them are on.
Kat, are you there? Oh. Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, it just seems low.
Oh, okay. With regard to the applications before you this morning, have you had any ex parte communications you'd like to disclose? And we'll start at the end with Commissioner Barmes.
Site visits.
Site visits.
None.
None.
Site visits.
Site visit.
And I did receive a couple emails regarding the second application.
Site visits.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant present, Priscilla Ramos DePietri? Yes, thank you. Miss. Oh, okay. Perfect.
While we're there, y'all recovered from your 9-hour public hearing. Thank you very much. And Ms. Collins did a great job stepping in as chair, but I'm sure she's very happy to pass it back to Mr. Bramlett. But thank you all for that. That was a tough day. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for
We appreciate the
recognizing
kind
us.
words that you gave to the county commission at the last meeting.
They were very appreciative, and I was too. 9 hours for a volunteer board, crazy. So thank you. I couldn't give you in pizza, so. You had cookies, though. The cookies were. Yeah.
My wife did ask if she needed to make them for this meeting. I told her, hold off, hold off.
No. I mean, not that we aren't appreciative, and there
Yeah.
were like variety. and
Special occasions, yeah.
everything. They were very, very good.
She got the bakery going.
Did we ever get those tints back to her? Do we still have them in our office?
On the table in the break room.
Oh, okay, your Tupperware tins, thank you. There's so many varieties, and they were all good. And we fought over one of the brands. What
I
was
think
one that
Ms.
we all
Murphy
fought
brought
over?
some too. Let's not forget that. Thank you. You're welcome.
There was one we were all fighting over one of the flavors. They were all gone immediately. There you go. The French butter was a big hit.
Which ones?
French butter. Never heard of it, but
Who's got their noisemaker on?
Not me.
somebody's phone.
I like it was over there.
Sound like it was me.
Sound like it was you. I'm gonna call you out.
I didn't do it.
This is on YouTube, and they're getting a heck of a conversation, aren't they?
We're all just humans.
We are just humans. Well, I'll look ahead. How's that? I'll look ahead next time. Your next meeting, we have, I think, just one. In August, we have 3 on the first one. You're going to see Take 5 again. They have revised their application quite a bit and asked to come back before you, so that'll be good. And on August 20th, we have 2. So not too bad.
To go down to my computer to insert this file to the USB.
Okay.
I don't know if
Do we need the
I don't
staff
think
introduction?
we don't need. Are you okay with that staff
Is
introduction?
everybody on the board okay with it without the staff I mean, we all read the packet, right?
Yes.
We can put up the staff, I'm assuming you have the aerial on your PowerPoint or a map. Yeah, we can pull up that map and put it up there.
I just have the aerial, but I don't, not really a locating map. 'Cause that was in the. It was together last night when I left. I don't know why it's not working.
It's all right, just pull up the staffs if you can, and on her, looks like her second one happens to have the aerial, and we can use that.
I mean, I could pull it from the clerk's website for presentation, but I don't think you want to go there. I don't know if that's allowed.
But while she's doing that, why don't you go down and make, is the second one okay? Okay, or you can go down and check while we're doing this hearing.
I know that Joe's was working. It's the AA that didn't go.
Okay. So what would we like them to know? I have it, but I don't have the. I don't even have
Site plan.
So the PowerPoint that we're not able to show is starting on page 10 of your packet.
Oh, I probably know.
And what you would see on page 10 is the map of Citrus Springs.
Aren't they?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're on there. They're in their packet.
Mine aren't numbered.
No, for some reason, PowerPoint's numbers are gone because you have to put it, it goes behind the pictures unless you manually force it otherwise.
Well, I mean, I could
It's too late now. It's all right.
pretty much remember what all these pictures are, but
Yeah. Would you like us to go through the pictures with you? Okay, go ahead, Jen. Pull it forward.
all right, is mine on? Cool. All right, so Joanna was referring you to the aerial view. This is just in Citrus Springs, Unit 17. You can see where it's at, located in the bottom right. All right, next slide.
So since we have people without this, this is available on the clerk's website too if you want to look it up online.
All right, this is just looking at the subject property. Next slide is looking north on Alameda from East Citrus Springs Boulevard. Next is looking, let's see, south. I believe it runs south, sorry, on East Citrus Springs Boulevard. This is looking east. I'm sorry, this is looking north on East Citrus Springs Boulevard. There we go. This is looking east on Alameda Drive as I am standing at Citrus Springs Boulevard. And this is just a view of the property across from the subject property.
And what you're seeing, if you're not seeing those pictures, are some nondescript pictures of roads and trees.
Those and vacant.
All right, I guess we'll go ahead and have the applicant whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Everybody's good with that, right?
Yes.
Okay. If the applicant wants to come and make your presentation, please. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Matt DePietro. My wife Priscilla is here with me. We are not professional land developers or anything like that. This is my first time doing anything like this, so if I don't do it correctly, I apologize in advance. I can start by confirming that we got 14 or so of those notifications about paying some by wire instructions. I don't know. 14 might be a slight exaggeration, but we got a lot. So just as a heads up that it is happening. It's pretty prolific. I don't know if we got any Venmos. The lot that my wife and I have purchased a few properties and built and sold a few homes here. A few years ago, we decided we both have full-time jobs that are not land development, but we decided to take our money and invest. We look for a nice area to invest and a good builder to invest with. We think we found both of those in Citrus and our builder. We've built and sold, I think, 3 homes, and we've got 3 others that we're in process of building. But we kind of have assessed the community and said that we'd like to start buying bigger lots and building, not on these quarter acre anymore, but maybe something a little bit bigger. So about a year ago, I think, this lot came as what I'll call an opportunity to us. We noticed that it was butted up against something that's zoned as a community facility. Around that seems to be mostly residential. From standing in the lot, when we looked at it, we can see the homes down. I don't know if that's south or north, but as you look down Alameda, you can see other homes. So in our eyes, it was kind of just extending the existing residential area. The proposal that we've submitted is just to divide that lot into 2, which would give almost 2 half-acre lots, build homes on there that would be a little over 2,000 square feet. Beautiful homes, and we think they would beautify the community, and that it's not something. If we talked to our builder and a surveyor, and they both said in their eyes that they thought that rezoning this would be something that would be appealing and make sense, or else we wouldn't have bought it in the first place. So I think that's about it. That's our intention with the lot, and here to field any questions, I suppose, that anybody might have.
Thank you, sir. Does the staff have any questions from the applicant?
Yes, sir. So could you explain a little bit more about the justification for this request? Because this is a corner lot that's a commercial designated property, and it has other commercial properties adjacent to it, and there are other single-family lots within the general area that are undeveloped. So what would be the justification for this one?
I think I would just go back to what I said of the fact that it borders with a community facility, and around that is all residential. So we just, to be honest, we saw an opportunity to obtain like you said, a corner lot, which is somewhat desirable, that seemingly would make sense to be more of an extension of residential and not necessarily an island of residential surrounded by nothing but commercial.
And are you aware that the comprehensive plan limits the lot size for a property that does not have central water and central sewer to 1/2 acre in size for a new lot?
It limits it to be a 1/2 acre or smaller?
Or larger?
Or larger.
Yes.
Okay, so are you telling me that you would not be able to split that lot? You would have to build one single home on that lot?
Unless you have access to central water or sewer.
Okay, and if we were to wait on, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to be asking these questions or not, but I'll ask them anyways. If you were to wait for the area as described in the packet, right? It's a lot of, you're looking at pictures of trees and more trees. If we were to wait for the area to get built up to where there is said access, I guess that would kind of negate what you're saying.
Well, I just want to make sure that you were aware.
I am now.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions from the board for the applicant? Nobody? Alrighty. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Staff presentation?
Jen, you're gonna have to go right now without your PowerPoint. Liz has gone down and got a thumb drive. There she, hang on, there's Liz with the passport. You can go ahead.
If not, I can just refer them to the slide.
Go ahead and start, but we've got a thumb drive. It's probably gonna be a lot quicker than y'all working on your stuff, because we need it now, unfortunately. We have great tech in this county, so sorry.
We have every tech in the county
Have every
building
tech
here,
in
I
the county.
think. I've never seen that before.
And at least 2 of the 3 I know are experts, so pretty impressive.
You did a good job on this one, Miss Hoover.
Yeah, when you bring it down, you bring it down. It's the weekend.
Bigger go home, right?
That's what Joe just said too, yeah. As long as we can get hers, but Jen, you can go ahead and start if you want to.
Working on trust.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So I can tell them what number it is.
You restarted the computer. Okay, we might be doing a no PowerPoint where Jen as well.
It's here, I promise. Come on, guys.
But he restarted it. We have to wait now.
No, it's okay. I will at least refer them to pages. All right, good morning. Jen Perkins, Senior Planner. So your title page is, this application is a request to amend the Land Development Code Atlas Map and the Citrus Springs Unit 17 Master Plan to redesignate a commercial lot to single family. All right.
Hang on a second, Liz. Shh. can't hear Jen for you guys talking. Sorry.
Are you guys good? Did you at least hear? Okay. Second slide. This lot that is highlighted in blue is located at the intersection of North Alameda Drive and East Citrus Springs Boulevard. Just take a note of the number of vacant lots in the surrounding area. Also, it is 0.8 acres in size, vacant and heavily wooded. All right, third. All right, the subject lot is designated commercial. Lots to the north, east, and south are also designated commercial, and the lot to the west is designated community facility. There are single-family lots in the surrounding area. Those are purple, but the subject property does not abut any of these. All right, next slide. All right, so we're going to zoom out a little, and you can see the little blue with the dot. That's our subject lot. And I just want you to take note of the number of purple lots that are in that area. Those purple lots are the single-family lots. And the next slide shows the aerial. That is the same extent as the previous slide. Again, I'm just asking you to, or wanting you to note the number, or how many of those lots are undeveloped, and recall from the previous slide that a lot of those were single family. All right, next slide. All right, we're going to zoom all the way out to all of Citrus Springs, and this is the original master plan. The commercial lots are in red, and most of the commercial areas are circled in blue. The yellow, the commercial area that is circled in yellow is the area that is in Citrus Springs Unit 17. Next slide. All right, zooming back in, Unit 17 is outlined in yellow, and now the commercial area is circled in blue. Next slide. This is the conceptual site plan that was submitted by the applicant that is not being considered as part of this application today. Next slide. The lot appears to be too small to be able to subdivide and meet access management requirements. Also, Joe had mentioned the size requirement of needing to be a minimum of a half an acre if the lot is not on both central water and central sewer. So if you would please go back to slide number 3. And what we're going to be looking at, that's the slide that is showing the designations of the lots. All right. Okay, so.
Excuse me, you said slide number 3. Try that again, give us a.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'm so sorry I'm mixing up with, there we go.
We finally.
Oh, yay. Okay. So we were talking about, you know, being able to subdivide and how that's not part of this application. So that lot, it could, though, accommodate a single-family residence and meet setbacks and impervious surface ratio standards. But it may also be able to accommodate a commercial use, which is what it is currently designated for. Additionally, when those adjacent non-residential uses develop, there are going to be increased buffer requirements required. A minimum 15-foot type C buffer would be required against the property lines that abut that proposed residential use, instead of a 5-foot type A buffer, which would be adjacent to a non-residential use. This lot is in a non-residential area surrounded by non-residential lots. I think that's it for that. So basically, this is going to be, or this would reduce the mixed-use component in the Unit 17 area, and it would reduce the mixed-use component within all of Citrus Springs. As such, the application does not appear to be compatible with the adjacent properties, Unit 17, and Citrus Springs in general. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the applicant have any questions from the staff or for the staff? No? Okay. Any questions from the board?
Commissioner,
Mr. Barmez.
you mentioned the buffers.
Mm-hmm.
So the hardship that the applicant has now to split the property and do what they need to do, is this creating a hardship on the commercial people that own the property around them? Are you saying that they have to increase their setback for them?
So first of all, that subdivision, we're not even talking about that. We're considering whether this would be changed, redesignated from commercial to single family. If that were to happen, then the non-residential properties, when they go to develop, they are going to have increased buffers because of that residential use.
So that's an increase, my opinion, hardship for the commercial properties because they have to do something different than they wouldn't have to do today. Right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm sorry, I do have one more question.
Mr. Barmes?
Just for the record, what is Alley 23 and what's the purpose of that? It's a road that's running
It's just
the
a
north of
platted.
Yeah, so remember this is from the 70s. That's
Right.
when Citrus Springs, they put in these alleys and they appear to be for service, for trash, etc. is what we understand. They put them in by the commercial lots.
All right, great, thank you. No further questions.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Shara?
good morning.
Hi.
I know you were addressing this, but I'd like you to repeat it. Sure. So if we, and looking at your report, you're saying from a PDR, a planned development residential bracket commercial designation.
Mhm.
Can you describe what planned development residential bracket commercial means?
Sure. So the planned development residential, that is the zoning district, and that's going to cover all of Citrus Springs as a planned development. Within that, on the master plan, are designations for what each lot use can be. So in Citrus Springs, there are duplex lots, there are multifamily lots, school, church, commercial, office. And those are what you can do on those lots and not elsewhere. It's very specific about what you can do on which lot.
And this particular lot is clearly designated commercial.
Correct.
And it sits adjacent to, I believe it was referred to as a community, I've written it down somewhere, but it's a community function or use.
Oh, yes. To the west is the
west.
community facility.
And to the north and to the east, north on Alameda and the east on Citrus Springs, those are also designated commercial.
Right, as is that south one too. That large area is commercial, that large green one.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No questions.
Seeing none, thank you.
Welcome.
At this time, we'll have the public portion of the meeting. Before we open the floor up to hear from all of you, I'd like to take a quick second to talk neighbor to neighbor about who is sitting on this board today. I'd like to take advantage of this platform to help educate the public in this room and those watching live or on the replays. In my experience, I've noticed a lot of confusion and angst as a result of a lack of understanding of the dynamics of the people you see sitting on this board in front of you today. Everyone you see is a volunteer. We aren't here for a paycheck. We are here because the BOCC asked us to serve 4-year terms to look out for the people of Citrus County, our friends, our families, and our neighbors. The BOCC appointed this cross-section of individuals purposely to ensure all aspects of the public domain were represented. We've got real estate brokers, builders, engineers, HOA presidents, and planners, to name a few. Like you, we all live, work, and play right here, and we love this county deeply. I know there's a common worry that boards like this just rubber stamp every request that comes through, but I want to promise you that isn't how we operate. We are a well-qualified group that puts a lot of cerebral energy and careful thought into every single topic on this agenda because we know these decisions shape the future of our home. We are here to represent you, and we take that responsibility to heart. With that said, we will have the public portion of the meeting regarding this application. If there is anyone present who would like to speak, please come forward. Not everyone at once. All right, we will close the public portion of the meeting. and bring it back to the board for discussions and motions.
Yeah, Commissioner Bramlett, Mr.
Mr.
Chair.
Barmes.
I'll just start by saying that I'm not in favor of this application. I don't like applications that affect neighbors. If they want to develop their property, they have to amend their plans that they might be in the process of doing currently. And if we make this land change and we make this application approved, that could change their direction of where they might be going or what their intents of their property would be. So I would not be in favor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shara.
Mr. Chair, visiting this site, it's pretty clear that not a lot of development has gone on from Route 41 going east on Citrus Springs Road for quite a while. And so this is basically a rural, heavily wooded area. However, even if you go back to the 1970 Unit 17, the way this was platted, these are clearly marked commercial. Because of that fact, the fact that it's surrounded by commercial properties, that this would create a new burden on the adjacent commercial properties, that the lot size is not sufficient to divide into two lots because it's not covered by water and sewer, and then not to mention the access from either Citrus Springs or Alameda, I will not support this.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Collins?
Mr. Chair, I'm also unable to support this. So while Unit 17 hasn't been built out, it is a master planned community with a commercial center in it. So, and when people buy into master plan communities, they rely on that it's going to be built out that way. It's on a minor collector, so it's basically designed to handle the commercial that would eventually someday be built on there. So in my opinion, it's incompatible with the comprehensive plan and with the zoning and that master plan of development. Essentially, this proposal is what we would call spot zoning, so I'm unable to support it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
For the purpose of a motion, the Planning and Development Commission finds application number AA-2026-00002 inconsistent with the Citrus County Comprehensive Plan and Citrus County Land Development Code, and that this board recommends denial of the application to the Board of County Commissioners based on the evidence and testimony presented and the staff report and conclusions regarding this petition.
Second.
We have a motion to deny by Mr. Shara with a second by Ms. Collins. Is there any additional discussion? I would just say and add to the fact, Mr. and Ms. DePietri, I don't think you're bad people. I just think you got bad information. Citrus Springs is a master planned community. It was developed quite a long time ago, but I think for what they did, looking at it and where we are now in 2026, they had a lot of forward thought and a lot of thought and foresight went into their project. You can clearly see all of the different orange areas they put into the community, and the property that you're trying to redesignate to commercial kind of sits in almost the largest commercial node in that entire community. So like my colleagues have said, I don't think it would be fair to the other commercial properties around there. With that, I would not be in favor of it either. Good thing is you have a piece of property that you can do something else with in the future, though. So, anyone else? All those in favor of the denial? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, this application is scheduled for hearing by the Board of County Commissioners on August 11th at 5:01 p.m.
Thank you. Let's take a 5-minute break. On the dot. At this time, we'll hear application PUD-2026-00002. I know the applicants are present. Ms. Hoover?
The request is to establish a master plan to allow residential development consisting of 2.5 dwelling units per acre in the LDR district. Aerial view of the subject property. Looking at the subject site and across Carl G. Rose Highway. Looking north and south on Carl G. Rose Highway. And this is the master plan proposed by the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir?
Good morning, Commissioners. Rob Batzel, 1531 Southeast 36th Avenue, Ocala, Florida, 34471, here on behalf of the applicant. With me today are several representatives from the Pulte Group and Pulte Homes. Alex Malecki, Ray Aponte, and Blake Glass are here. So if we have Pulte-specific questions, we can lean on them a bit. Also with me is Paul Gibbs from Community Land Design. Paul will handle a significant portion of the presentation here in a moment. And then Gene Lazito from Kimley Horn. Kimley Horn is involved in the design of the project, some of the offsite utility work. They've been working with Mr. Cheek and his team, which we appreciate. And Gene's here to answer any questions along those lines. We'll try to be brief today and high level. I know you're probably still tired from a couple of weeks ago. Of course, though, if you have any questions, we're happy to stop and drill down. So I want to start, we heard some of the comments in the opening, there are a lot of sources of information in our world today, and it's easy to be scared about some ominous large project. This is nothing to fear, and the references to the 6 units per acre, I want to start there, and then we'll back out of that. But as you know, of course, there are references in the staff report to the fact that this future land use designation and Atlas designation provide for up to 6 units per acre by PUD and 2 by right without PUD. I want to assure anyone who read something along those lines and assume that means we're here before you to ask for 6 units per acre and max out that density, that is absolutely not the case. This is a really well thought out design proposing 2.5 units per acre, so just barely enough to require us to come before you for a PUD. So I wanted to start there and just kind of try to resolve that concern. So this property, and Paul's going to go into more detail in a moment, but high level, this is a 267 or so acre piece of property. We're proposing 667 units. Again, that's 2.5 units per acre. The staff report mentions that this was previously approved in 2006 for a plan development overlay with a master plan for 350 units. That actually relates to only a portion of the property, which is in 100 acres within the 267. So back then, the county approved 3.5 units per acre on 100 acres of the subject property. That was subsequently rezoned by a potential purchaser after it expired, and now today it still carries that LDR, which provides for the 2 units per acre and 6 by PUD. We're going to get into some of the issues about access, which will be fully vetted. We're already in discussions with DOT, substantial discussions, and we'll need to comply with any and all requirements concerning access improvements. And maybe most importantly, we're going to talk a lot about complying with the code and being consistent with your comp plan and compatible with the area, which we're confident we are, and we hope you'll agree. But maybe more importantly is just who we are, who I'm standing up here on behalf of. And for those of you who are familiar with Del Webb communities, I hope that if you're golfers, maybe you've been to Stone Creek and Ocala. There's a host of, obviously, Del Webb communities around the state and beyond. This is an established brand with a really high level of accountability internally. And so when we talk about you're going to see resort-style amenities. You're going to see heightened landscaping packages that far exceed even the new tree code and landscaping code that we have in effect in Citrus County. You're going to see enhanced setbacks, buffers with berms. You're going to see roads within the community that are tree-lined and intended to make folks want to live there and residents enjoy living there. So the last thing I'll mention before Paul comes up and gives you the overview is we've heard a lot about lot size over the last few months, and in several jurisdictions right now, I'm actually involved in different projects for different clients, and we see a modern trend toward clustering of residential components of a project, because overall what that allows us to do, well, first of all, that's what buyers want. Buyers don't want a half-acre piece of property that they have to maintain. But more importantly, from the standpoint of this board and maybe the county's regulatory vision for what it wants when it comes to residential development, that clustering and what we think of as a bit smaller lots, the 40s, the 50s, the 64s, that allows us to really set aside meaningful tracts of the portions of the property for open space, for really nice amenities that have a large footprint. It also, while this is not by any means an affordable housing project, it maintains affordability because you can be more competitive with that price, and you're not paying for as much of the dirt of the footprint. And so it also allows us to exceed buffering requirements, like you're going to hear we're doing here. And all of that clustering just opens up more property for meaningful active uses. So with that said, I'm going to ask Mr. Gibbs to come on up, and unless you have any questions of me at this point, give you the high-level overview of Del Webb and the community, and then unfortunately you'll have to hear from me briefly one more time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good morning. My name is Paul Gibbs. I'm a landscape architect and land planner with Community Land Design, Ocala, Florida. Since this is Del Webb's first entry into the Citrus County market, we thought it would be beneficial to just give you a little backstory on them. They've been doing these types of communities, the active adult communities, all over the country for over 70 years. And they've really fine-tuned what they offer based upon the demand of what their buyers are asking for. And so that's where we are today with their communities. They're really creating active lifestyles built around social connections. I did my college thesis like 40-something years ago, and it was on senior community design, and that's what I've been doing for most of my career. So that's kind of interesting. But anyway, it's active lifestyles, social connections. It's good for the health of the people and their wellness. They do, as Rob said, incorporate resort-style amenities in their developments, and these are designed for a specific population. In fact, I was looking the other day, Citrus County median age is 57, and that's one of the highest median age counties in the whole country. And so Citrus County still sees the demand for these 55-plus communities, especially in high-quality neighborhoods, which is what we're proposing. The first Del Webb active community was in Phoenix, Arizona. It was a Sun City project, and that was in 1960. And there's been many other Sun City communities throughout the Sun Belt states, including Florida. I believe Florida has 2 Sun City projects. Closer to home, as Rob mentioned, we have Stone Creek in Ocala. That's a large project, has about 4,000 homes. I believe they're in their last construction phase after about 20 years, but they have the most amazing resort amenities and golf course. And I have toured their homes and their property just to be familiar with their offerings. They're also building right now in Spring Hill, which is just to the south, River Reserve, which is another Del Webb community. Del Webb communities are typically gated, 55-plus active lifestyle communities. They do offer variations of their communities based upon the local demographics, but that's kind of what we anticipate seeing here in Citrus County. As mentioned, some of the benefits of the Del Webb community, I'm on page 50. I do. I wasn't even looking at the slides. I am so sorry. Okay. All right. Did you want me to click it or you? I'll tell you. So, all right. Thank you. Next page. Next page. Next page. And next page. And one more. All right, there's a lot of benefits of 55 plus communities and Del Webb in particular. As mentioned, they're really designed around social connection. They have their central clubhouses, a lot of organized events. Most of their developments have an on-site social director, so to speak. They organize events, lets the neighbors meet each other and actively engage with each other. A lot of these 55 plus communities, at least locally, are people that are moving here from up north and retiring to Florida. So they don't necessarily know their neighbors when they're moving there. So it's a real benefit. Health and wellness is very important. They offer their fitness centers, walking trails, recreational sports courts, their resort pools, a lot of ways for people to remain active. And all of that's done in a restored style living. They have lounges, a lot of outdoor and indoor gathering spaces, place for people to meet their neighbors and just enjoy life. And so it's an investment in a lifestyle. So next slide. I'm going to show you a few examples of their resort style amenities. And you can go on their website and you'll see very similar developments, just like we're seeing in this slide. This is the Spring Hill Project River Reserve, and their amenity center is currently under construction, if I understand correctly. Their typical amenities, very large clubhouses, they're scaled to the size of the community. Social gathering spaces, activities, resort pools, sports courts. I know pickleball is very popular nowadays. Our project will also have on the main roads multimodal trails, which will allow easy access to the amenity center without even getting in your car. And we'll have sidewalks throughout. For our project, our amenity site, we're still in the early stages of the details on that, but we plan to offer fitness rooms, of course, the large clubhouse, a grab-and-go snack cafe, gathering lounges, activity rooms, the resort pools, and pickleball courts. So very much like what you're seeing in this slide. Next slide. And this is the front of the same facility, River Reserve. And you can see it's a very large, up-to-date architecture, large-scale, very welcoming resort amenity. Next slide. And this one is, again, similar. You'll see the clubhouse, the pools, the courts. This is Sun Chase in Paris, Florida. And the next slide. As Rob mentioned, we're proposing 667 homes. And one advantage to when you have that large number of homes is you're able to offer a lot more variety in the homes that you offer. For example, we're going to have the 3 lot sizes, 40-foot wide, 50-foot wide, and the 64-foot wide. And each one of those has a different home size. They accommodate different lifestyles, different budgets, different family needs. So it gives a lot of options to the buyers. On the 40-foot wide lots, the homes are typically in the 1,400 to about the mid-1,600 square foot range, 2-car garages. For the next slide is the 50-foot lot homes. And these are examples. But again, you can go on their website and you'll see very similar homes to these all throughout. These homes range from the mid-1,600 square feet to over 2,700 square feet. So you can see we're getting larger, and again with the 2-car garages. And then on the next slide, we have our 64-foot wide lots. And those are the largest homes, and these all have 3-car garages. And that's something that's in high demand. People like it for storage or for their golf cart, things like that. But in any case, these homes are anywhere from the 2,200s to over 3,000 square feet. In fact, some even offer an optional second story loft level whether it's for the man cave or the grandchildren or whatever. So they have a lot of options that they're able to offer throughout their community because it is a larger community. One thing you'll note, we'll go to the next slide. One thing you'll note on all of these homes, they'll have a similar architecture. So whether you have the smaller home or the larger home, they're all compatible with each other. And one thing in this community that's different than some I work on, we're not gating off the 40-foot lot people from the 64-foot lot people. They're pretty much integrated and somewhat mixed throughout. It's a more natural layout. All right, now this is our project location. As you know, we're located on State Road 200. It's a principal arterial roadway in the county. And our entrance is about 1.7 miles south of the 491-200 traffic light. And then going south, we're about, 3.6 miles to the light at Hernando. Next slide. It's an aerial map of our project. The area is outlined in blue. You'll see around us there's a whole lot of existing lots. They're either recorded or unrecorded subdivisions. And in particular, I'll point out the development on the other side of 200. You'll see a much higher density of homes in that location. Next slide. As Rob mentioned, our property is zoned low-density residential, that's the land use map rather. Our land use is low-density residential, and the comp plan allows by right 2 units per acre. The comp plan also allows 2.1 up to 6 units per acre. We're requesting 2.5, so we're at the very low end of that scale. And we'll show you on the site plan some of the advantages of doing that. The next slide shows the zoning map, and it's consistent with the future land use map where low density residential, mobile homes allowed. And the next slide is from the GIS system. It shows some of the adjacent subdivisions closer up to our site. I counted over 3 dozen recorded and unrecorded subdivisions up and down 200. And then going south to Arbor Lakes. So some of these subdivisions the larger ones you probably heard of is River Lakes Manor, Tanglewood, and Apache Shores, all up and down 200 in this vicinity. And then 1 mile south of this project is Arbor Lakes, which is another 55-plus gated community with about 350 homes. And so there's a lot of development in this area. In fact, I counted over 3,400 residential lots in this vicinity. So it's not necessarily a pristine area like some other areas of the county may be. Next slide. And this is the planned service area map. Our entire property is within the planned service area. And one of the requirements for that is if you have 500 homes or more, you are required to connect to central water and sewer. And our client will be doing that, of course, to get this approved. We'll be connecting to the existing county water and sewer systems, and we'll be extending the lines to our property as needed. If you have questions on that, the engineer could fill you in on the details of that. And then finally, the next slide is our master plan. We have, again, 267 acres. I do have a wrong acreage in my text where it says key data, but it is 267, and 667 homes with the different home sizes I discussed. And that's our proposed density of 2.5 units per acre. A lot of the other PUDs that I typically work on with the similar lot mix, we are typically in the 3.5 to 4 unit per acre density range. All right. Some of our project features: gated entrances, all single-family detached homes, and these homes will be clustered around the open spaces. You'll see a lot of the green areas on the map here. None of the homes, or maybe a couple, where we have back-to-back lots, we do have a green belt that will be platted as open space. between those rear-to-rear lots, little privacy, and the builder typically creates landscape berms for additional separation between those. So we like to cluster, we like to take advantage of the open space. And that's one reason our density is lower than typical. We mentioned the wide multimodal trails, sidewalks throughout. And the roads that you're seeing here, they will be private roads. They'll be constructed and maintained by the developer and not by Citrus County. The next slide. This is our lot standards that we have submitted in our application. I'll just go over some of the deviations that we're requesting. We're requesting a reduced front setback of 15 feet as opposed to 25 feet is the standard. We're also requesting for corner lots to have a reduced, instead of 25 front, 25 side, where the side lot is allowed to have a 10-foot setback. And so I've done many, many projects where the side corner lots are either 10 or 15 feet. So that's pretty typical for these type of developments. And we're also asking for a higher impervious surface ratio calculated project-wide and not by the individual lot. I requested for the engineer to calculate what he thought the actual ISR would be for the project, and that's taking all the different home sizes, coming up with an average by the area. So you get the house, the driveways, the roads, the sidewalks, air conditioner pads, the amenity site build out. So they went through the effort of actually calculating what they thought it would be close to. And the calculation actually is closer to 45%. So just for reference, we did divide it into phases. This project will be phased into 4 phases, and that's shown on the PD master plan. And those calculations by phase were at 38%, 41%, 40%, and 47%. So just to give you an idea of where we are realistically with our ISR. Next slide. To me, this is probably the clearest exhibit to see in terms of looking at the site plan. We've put all the open space in green, so you could really see the amount of open space, the clustering, where we have back-to-back lots closer together. We still have green belts that'll be platted between. If you look along the boundaries, some of the boundaries have wetlands that'll be preserved, so you'll see, even though we're going to be talking about the 15-foot buffers, in a lot of these areas we have the depth of the green spaces we're showing here is probably over 200 feet in many areas. So there's more buffering and separation beyond the 15-foot buffer we'll be discussing in a minute. But in terms of the open space, normally you're required 20%. We're proposing 41.5% is what we've calculated. So more than double the standard requirement. And we feel, frankly, that this higher amount of open space more than offsets any higher ISR that we may be requesting. And let's go to the next slide. I had started mentioning buffers there for a minute. The Land Development Code does not require buffering between adjacent residential uses or residentially designated properties. For our project, we recognize that we have smaller lots. We have a little different product than what we're adjacent to. So we are proposing the 15-foot type C buffer along all the boundaries for the project. And let's see here. And then I've calculated just yesterday, looking at what is actually adjacent to us. 75% of our boundary is either large undeveloped parcels, in large being 10 acres, 30 acres, 40 acres, 80 acres. So we have some very large parcels to the north and to the west in particular. So large undeveloped parcels is what we're adjacent to primarily. And then the rest of our boundary of the 75% is adjacent to Highway 200 frontage. On the southeast corner of our property, you'll see a bunch of lots along our boundary. There's 14 existing homes or mobile homes in those areas. And so we will be buffering those as well. And one thing that, you know, even though we've submitted our application, there's still a lot of work being done behind the scenes with Pulte and with the engineer. So since we have submitted our application, we've learned that the developer is proposing to construct 6-foot-high precast concrete privacy walls on the entire east boundary. I have to think, because north is that way. So it's rotated, the east boundary and the south boundary of the project. So we will have a privacy wall against those 14 adjacent homes on the southeast of our property. And we'll also have it along the Highway 200 frontage, where we are adjacent to Highway 200 with our proposed privacy wall. We will have the landscaping on the front side of that, so that's what you'll see from the highway. All the other boundaries that do not have a privacy wall will have a 4-foot-high metal picket-style fence, and that's more to delineate our boundary. It's not necessarily a buffer feature, but it just delineates our project boundary from the adjacent properties. And so that's buffers. And then let's go to the next slide. And this is the last slide that I'll be presenting, and I could come back up for questions and answers when we're done. This is our tree preservation mitigation exhibit. Now, when we go to the permitting stage, we're required to submit a tree preservation mitigation plan as each plat is being recorded. So we won't get a permit unless we do so. But we went through the effort now to survey the locations of all the specimen trees, and those, again, are the trees that are greater than 24-inch diameter trunk. We've calculated that we should be able to save approximately 30% of those specimen trees. The ones that we have to remove, a lot of those are in the low areas, and they're in where drainage retention will need to be constructed. So we will do all the mitigation on site, 100% of it. So we'll be planting trees back to meet the current standards for tree mitigation. We'll be planting mitigation trees. We'll be planting buffer trees. We'll be planting street trees on this project. We'll be planting 2 trees per lot. So we've calculated over 3,200 trees will be planted in this development as it's built out, with the average of 12 trees per acre. And just the only reason I mention that is just for comparison. If you have a commercial site like a Target, they're required to have 10 trees per acre. So we'll be well forested when these trees grow back in. And with that, I'm going to have Rob come back out and finish the presentation. Thank you.
All right, if we go to the next slide, please. And actually, I'll try to take that job off of you. Do I have a clicker? Okay, no problem. Then I'm sorry, I'll rely on you. So Mr. Gibbs mentioned, and we've touched on utilities. We are complying on all fronts, and Mr. Cheek, Mr. Dillmore, Ms. Flood Nichols, they've been great working with Kimley Horn. We have a plan on the utilities front, and that will be consummated through a developer's agreement. But all utility work has been done, is moving along well. Next slide, please. We meet all concurrency requirements. Oh, thank you. If it was a snake, I'd be in trouble. All concurrency requirements are met, so I'll quickly gloss over that. On our consistency with the comprehensive plan, this is one of those things that I'm going to buzz through, but if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to shout at me. As far as policy 17.2.7 is concerned and ensuring that we're guiding growth to the most appropriate areas, As Mr. Gibbs mentioned, this is in the PSA. It's where the county has made the policy decision to direct this type of development. Staff had some comments about things such as protected species, gopher tortoises, specimen trees, which Mr. Gibbs just covered, and wetlands. Rest assured, your code is very thorough as it relates to trees, for example, which Mr. Gibbs just covered, and we will not only meet but exceed those requirements. But on some of those other issues like protected species, we have to comply with all Water Management District and DEP requirements and FWC requirements for all those various environmental matters, and we will. That's true of every project that comes before you. To the next policy, I just want to point out in 17.15.12 that in addition to those sidewalks, there will be this multi-use trail, which just provides another mechanism to keep those residents active and allow them to get from point A to point B without the need to get in the car. Concerning 17.15.9 and compatibility, I feel like we've addressed this. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate, but this density is well within and below, frankly, what could be requested reasonably here. Well below the previously approved 3.5 units per acre. Paul did a nice job of going over the orientation, and maybe I should just point out, and he already did, but so many of our boundaries where we needed to ensure compatibility, the plan thoughtfully locates either estate homes, a DRA, or some open space to ensure that compatibility. That's in addition to enhancing the buffers. No buffer required, but going all the way to type C, that's going to be well landscaped with a berm. And that's all, by the way, I can't help but think, I've got a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 13-year-old, and the amount I have to try to regulate kids around my house when there are kids over depends on whether that kid has an idea of what's reasonable and regulates himself or herself, right? And I don't have to shout so much or impose conditions, I guess you'd say, if the kid knows what's right and has a good compass. And I started by telling you that's what Del Webb is, that's what Pulte is. Because they have all these internal controls on these items, I don't have to go too much into compatibility because on a repeated basis we're exceeding code requirements. As it relates, staff covered 17.3.4, which that box is checked and doesn't apply for the most part. Access management and transportation, once again, we have already been working with DOT, but will be required to continue to work with DOT to ensure that the traffic analysis is done and any off-site improvements that are necessary are constructed. Staff, technical services did include some comments and actually some conditions of approval. We're in agreement with not only those, but all recommended conditions of approval that are in your packet. And I should mention, I should not read social media, but I must for hearings like this occasionally. I did see concerns about who's going to be responsible for the roads within the subdivision. Those are going to be privately maintained by the developer and the HOA, not the county. Stormwater, similar to the other state level and county permitting requirements, everything will be required to comply. This is getting a bit repetitive, so I'm going to skip. If you have any questions, let me know, but this residential density is beyond reasonable, we believe. And once again, Paul mentioned exceeding significantly open space requirements, the resort-style amenities across an 8.3 acre tract, the enhanced buffers. And with that, I'll stop and answer any questions you may have and then hear the public comment.
Thank you. Questions from the staff?
Yes, please. Thank you. A couple of them. I heard about the 6-foot concrete wall, but I wasn't clear where that was going, and you're putting landscaping outside. Is that north, south, and east? Did I hear that right? So 200 and then north and south?
Yes. So all buffers will be type C 15-foot buffers with 6 trees per 100 linear feet and 24 shrubs per linear foot. That applies to all buffers. In addition, on our east boundary with both State Road 200 and what I'll refer to as the mobile homes on the southern portion of the east boundary. We will have a decorative concrete wall that will be located on, and my client can give me the hook if this is mistaken, on that east boundary. It will be on the inside of the 15-foot vegetative buffer. So there will be landscaping visible than the wall from the road. On the south boundary, that concrete wall will continue, but it will be actually on the boundary, so before the 15-foot vegetative buffer. As we then round the corner on the entirety of the rest of that west side, even where it jogs, rather than running north, even where it jogs west and then continues north, that will all be well, first of all, still, instead of precast concrete, it will be a decorative, like iron or aluminum fence that'll be on the inside of the 15-foot type C buffer. Is that correct? Okay.
And then the north side
The north will continue just like the west side.
with the fence.
Yes.
Okay.
A black aluminum.
Well, kind of. Okay, so wetlands, I know you're conserving some of the perimeter of wetlands, but the interior ones were not. Did you make some thought to maybe trying to preserve those? Was there, what were you planning with those? Are you doing a wetland mitigation with the state?
I could say what I suspect, but I'm going to let Mr. Lozito take that one. Thank you.
Gene Lucido, Kimley Horn and Associates, 1700 Southeast 17th Street, Ocala, Florida. So I'm not the biologist for the project, but we did coordinate with the environmental consultant on this. And there was a small wetland, a couple small wetlands identified within the interior of the site. And those will be mitigated for in accordance with the state regulations and county regulations. Those particular ones, depending on the biology that exists within them, some of them may be considered lower quality just because they might not be connected to other wetland areas, and they aren't as high quality as some of the ones that we're preserving.
Okay, our code requires a 15-foot buffer and a 35-foot setback for structures, and I just wanted to make sure that was being taken care of, unless if they're being mitigated through the state.
Yes, can you repeat the setbacks and buffering
A 15-foot buffer undisturbed and a 35-foot setback for structures.
Yep, that's correct. That would be that would all be accounted for in the design. We provided actually a 25-foot buffer around the wetlands that were being preserved because the state regulations require the 25-foot. Okay. So a little bit more than what the code requires.
Thank you. And excuse me, Mr. Chair, I have a few, sorry. Lot widths, so 40, 50, those are much smaller than generally this area. You are in the PSA, you've pointed that out. Can you talk about why you're doing so small on those lot widths? Those are somewhat unusual, especially in this area.
Yeah, so I have some of our folks, maybe Mr. Aponte, come up and talk about the market demand and what people are looking for these days. I think I hit it earlier in terms of on a project-wide basis what that allows us to do in terms of setting aside significant open space, significant footprints for amenities, including multi-use trails, preserving some of those wetlands. But as far as what the consumer is looking for in maintaining less property, and how it speaks to affordability, I think Mr. Aponte would be better than.
Yeah, I'm looking more for compatibility than marketability. I appreciate that, but that's not really what we're considering. It's looking at compatible. How is that consistent and compatible with the area then?
Yes. Well, so internally, it was mentioned during Mr. Gibbs' presentation, they've incorporated green belts, so there will be internal setbacks that exceed code, and then internal buffers for rear-to-rear interactions that provide some vegetative buffering internally. External, as far as the project and how it interacts with the properties around it, the goal was, of course, to offer up the enhanced buffers and understand that, we are in this. The reality is that the county has made a decision from a policy standpoint to apply and incorporate a low-density residential future land use designation. Criteria providing that this 2 by right or up to 6 by PUD is the proper density in this area. And so while we have the condition on the ground today, from our standpoint of growth management and planning in Citrus County, we have adopted criteria which, I'm before you complying with, and where it needs to be exceeded, we're trying to exceed it. So we're trying to exceed it by, despite no buffer being required, doing a 15-foot landscape buffer, type C, voluntarily. So we think we're compatible.
Okay, I wanted to give you the chance to talk about that. For your ISR, I know you're asking for 65% plat wide. LDR is 35, so you're going almost nearly double. Doesn't sound like you need that, even with Mr. Gibbs' calculations. So why stay with the 65? Why aren't you dialing that back a little bit in the request?
You're correct. So when the application was submitted, since then there's been quite a lot of plans, or quite a lot of work done on the additional plans. We can agree to 50.
Okay, so that would change your request from 65 plat wide to 50 on
Yes,
plat
ma'am.
wide. Trees, I know he talked about 30% specimen trees. It sounds like with the number you're platting, you're pretty much clear cutting the area. Am I reading that right? There's a lot of trees there now, and if you're going to replant 1,200, you're probably pretty much clearing it. Is that the proposal?
So there is approximately, I'm going to say 50 feet of fall. Yeah, the this property slopes
I saw
a
the
lot.
contours. There's one area that definitely is, but I didn't see it throughout the site.
Yeah, so the best, and that's why we drilled down on the slide concerning the amount of preservation and replanting. Yeah, approximately 30% of the specimen trees will be preserved, or at least 30%. And the replanting will far exceed code requirements. They have very high landscaping standards within Del Webb. So there will be a significant number, as you saw. I think it was 3,200 trees replanted. But yes, because of the fall, I mean, the reality of how property, is developed, unfortunately, in many cases, requires us to, develop site-wide. And when there's that much fall, it's just not feasible to keep a tree here or there. And I don't know that we need to go into detail, but yeah, the unfortunate reality is that's how it has to be developed.
Okay, thank you. And then FDOT, you said you're talking to them about the 200 access. How are you progressing with that? Are you going to have that by the time we get to board meeting, you think, or still working on that discussion?
Once again, rely on Mr. Lozito.
So we've had pre-application meetings with DOT regarding the access locations. We haven't made any formal applications to them. Clients waiting to have their zoning approvals in place before they proceed with doing an engineering design and making the driveway permit applications.
Okay, this is a tough spot, so yeah, I think you can have some tough time with that, but it's completely a state road, so understood. And you also said you're talking with water and sewer with utilities. You're able to get that worked out as well. We're not involved in those discussions much, other than they have capacity.
Yes, that's correct. We've done quite a bit of analysis. We did some field work with county staff. Recently, we did testing at various lift station sites and fire hydrants within the area, and we've submitted an analysis to county staff detailing the improvements that we believe would be needed to serve our development and mitigate any impacts to the adjacent developments. And we've been still ongoing coordination with them for them to review and gain concurrence of what those improvements are.
Did you have some extra questions? Anything else? No, you're good. I asked her. I'm so sorry. I took his questions. And just to clarify, and I know you had it in your slide too, and it is in the conditions, you're not proposing access to Tram Road in any way. This is entirely State Route 200.
That's correct.
Those people have been through a trial.
Yes,
So
that's
okay.
I should have. Thank you.
Thank you. No more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Ms. Collins?
Hi, Mr. Batzel.
Hi there.
So a lot of my questions are really more for clarification and to get them on the record. Some of them I think I saw in the backup. Some of them I'm not sure. You don't show a phasing plan. I know you're going to, obviously I would hope you start with 1A, and you are proposing to build both entrances on 200 as part of your first phase, as well as the amenities that'll be built in the first phase?
Yes,
And is there a phased
that's correct.
plan at all, like a timing?
I'm sorry. Do you want testimony from witnesses, or do you want argument from Mr. Batzel and answer to your questions?
I guess I need testimony. I'm just...
Yeah, so we should probably get somebody that can testify.
Okay.
Oh, well, I can actually just direct you to, so the plan does include the phasing within, and it's a busy plan, but it does show phase 1A, phase 1B, phase 2A, and phase 2B. And to your point, to your question, phase 1A does include the entire amenity area. And yes, both access points will be built out as part of phase 1A.
Okay.
And that's all from the plan, so not just me being a lawyer to Ms. Lynn's point.
Yes, yes, I just didn't see also whether there was an actual phasing plan to be built up by a certain time. I don't know if I'll have to ask staff about PUDs and their life. My next question deals a little bit with State Road 200. I realize the county does not. We don't have concurrency. I believe the state, though, still looks at all of that. In your discussion with them, and I saw that you provided a setback of 125 feet from the center line of Carl G. Rose, which would allow for it to be built at its full function as a major arterial, a principal arterial. Have you discussed with them, is there anything in their 5-year plan that talks about widening of that road at this time?
I'm going to let Mr. Lozito take that.
Thank you.
No, nothing was within their 5-year plan for widening of that roadway.
Yeah, that's my only concern right now, but, okay. With regards to the privacy walls then, I would assume then that on State Road 200, that would all sit back at your 125-foot setback from the center line of the road that you're at, and your landscaping would all sit behind.
Yes, ma'am.
125 foot from the center line.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
These are going to be fee simple lots.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Regards to drainage, I see you have 50-foot locals. You've got the 80-foot collector. These would all be curb and gutter, so underground drainage to the DRAs.
So clarification on the 125-foot setback, that is a 125-foot building setback. So any setback, then, rear setback and then setback within which the type C buffer would be constructed would be within that 125 feet. So it's about 110 by my count when you count the 5-foot rear setback and then the 15-foot type C. That would be within that 125.
Okay. The only concern there, of course, is if there ever is a widening. Usually they're looking at 200 for those types of roads. That's why I thought you had your 125 from the center line, so.
Yeah, and we will need to deal with DOT independently of the county, just to be clear. I mean, we'll be required to do the traffic analysis and then comply with anything that they require.
Okay. The internal roadways, which I know are private, curb and gutter or swales, curb and gutter?
Curb and gutter, yes, ma'am.
That's what it looked like by your renderings. Okay. Seawalls, got all of that. Okay, my last one really has to do with condition 5 of staff, but I wanted to ask you, so I know you changed the ISR to 50% per lot. Just on the wording of that, it says on a plat-wide basis. Would you be amenable to changing that condition, and I'll talk with staff also, so that it reads the 50% per lot, not to exceed a 45% on a master plan wide basis?
Okay, I'm sorry, I've just pulled it. So what would the proposed change be?
Let me see. Wait, hold on. Let me get to mine, which is on page 182. It's condition 5. It's actually 183. The last sentence says the maximum ISR in the residential area is 0.65 on a plat-wide basis. You're going to change it to 50%. You agreed to that, but I would say it on a per lot basis, not to exceed 45% on a overall master plan basis, which you said your calculations showed a 45%. not for the entire plat.
Yeah, let me answer
I
that.
just, I don't understand why that was said per plat-wide basis.
Yeah, I think it might have even said PUD project-wide, but we've done them by plat as well, so I'll let y'all figure that out. But I did calculations on a 40-foot lot, for example, using their smallest home, 1,400 or so square feet, adding in the garage, the lanai, the front porch, the driveways, all of that. I was probably around 53% just on the smallest home. So if you did a 1,600 square foot home on a 40-foot lot, you'd probably be close to 60% ISR. So that's why we need the flexibility to not be lot by lot. And hopefully with the additional open space and the reduced ISR to 50%, either plat-wide or project-wide, that will work for y'all.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Facemeyer.
I have a couple questions. My first question may have been addressed, and I apologize in advance if it has been. I might have missed it. Tram Road runs through the property. I've never been on Tram Road. Is it a county road? Is it an improved road, unimproved road? And what happens to it after this project potentially moves forward?
Yeah, so it's funny at the beginning of analyzing this project, we in the county spent quite a bit of time, or we did, looking at Tram Road and its history. The long story short is that way back when it was anticipated to be a railroad back in the day, and that never came to fruition, obviously. Now it is a narrower than typical passable road that I believe is county maintained. But on our west boundary, we will not be interfering with it. It effectively is our west boundary and will provide additional buffering to the properties to the west.
It would be to the west of your property boundary.
Yes, sir. So
So it really, what I'm looking at on one of these renderings, it looks like it goes through the property, but you're saying it doesn't.
it does encumber the property. So it is an old railroad right-of-way that effectively does, you can actually visually see where the road passes through the property on this slide.
Yes, that's what I'm looking at.
Yes, sir, and that will not be interfered with. In fact, that's one of
But
those.
does that mean you would abandon it? I mean, if even if it's hardly passable today, at some point, you're going to improve your site, and that road will become impassable to the general public.
So we're not going to interfere with that any access over that right-of-way area, but we're going to construct our buffer on the east side of it, and basically just that it will then allow for more separation between our project and our buffer.
So that
adjacent owners, yes, sir.
So, okay, so even though that right-of-way were to pass across your property, you would build your buffers to the north of that? North?
Yes, sir. I think if by north you mean up, then the answer is yes. That's east. It's confusing
Okay.
because of the way it's turned, but yes, sir.
Okay, second question is, how many homes could you build on this site to avoid this meeting we're having today? Two homes per acre. What does that mean to your project if it were to be 2 homes per acre and not 2.5 homes per acre? 100 homes roughly?
Do you mean what's the benefit or the difference?
Density, yeah.
Oh, yes, sir. Approximately.
It's
133. Yeah.
130.
133.
Right, and one thing I found with, if you don't mind, with these projects, because we have to extend utilities to the site, build the amenity center, the gated entrances, the curb and gutter streets, all those things, the tree mitigation, it almost forces clients to really, normally the goal is, from what I've heard from different builders I work with is 4 units per acre is usually what they try to achieve to make the dollars and cents work. We're not asking for 4 units per acre. We're asking for 2.5, so we're, you know, 0.5% more in density.
Okay, I just wanted to get an understanding of the order of magnitude there. Thank you. That's all.
Anyone else? Mr. Barmes?
All right, well, most of you already answered or asked a lot of my questions, but I'm going to start off with the DRAs, Rob.
Okay.
You got 15 DRAs on your map. It's about 56 acres. So those 56 acres, aren't they considered, or were they calculated in as far as the 2.5 units per acre? Are those being considered, or are you just considering the 2.5 acres on the areas that you're building the homes on?
It's gross. It's project-wide.
So you take
That's
a
it, yes, sir.
quarter of the property at 50-some acres for the DRAs, so now you're increasing your density from 2.5 to 5.73, according to my math. Is that close?
So we're calculating the units per acre in the way that the
Overall
Land
project.
Development Code defines the calculation of units per acre. Yes, sir.
And then my next question would be, on your site map there, you're showing retaining walls. What are you retaining? And why are those walls necessary if you're building a 8-foot block wall?
So I'm going to let Mr. Lozito answer the retaining wall.
Yep. Due to the topography changes on the site, the retaining walls are anticipated to help make up grade differences throughout the community, to make the lots and driveways more usable for the end users.
So, just a guesstimation, I've been on that property, and I assume you have too with your knowledge. How much fill dirt are you going to bring in to level that land out, or what is your what is your intentions? Are you going to build it up level, dig out the ponds, the DRAs? I mean, kind of give me sell me on this.
The anticipation would be to try to balance the site the best that we could with the dirt that we have to limit import or export from the project, to limit development costs as much as possible. From our preliminary calculations, we are anticipating that there would be a net export off of the project, that there's a surplus of dirt on it.
All right. Almost satisfied, but let me go to your wetlands area A and E and D that you're going to mitigate. Could you tell me why you wouldn't just preserve them and maintain and do away with the houses around the wetlands to protect them, as opposed to bury them and get rid of them? They're there for a purpose, right?
Those particular ones that we're proposing to be impacted are not connected hydraulically to any of the larger wetland systems. So based on the way that our land plan is, we felt that it was just better use for having development in those areas.
And you have a report already completed on that? Because I didn't see it in our packet.
Yeah, there was a environmental report submitted with the project.
But I understand that, but not about the wetland, right? It doesn't necessarily, it just says you're going to mitigate A, D, and E, and you're going to conserve the other three, but it doesn't go into detail.
Yeah, we haven't done detailed engineering and submitted for permits from the Water Management District at this stage. So at this time, we just had a preliminary ecological assessment done by a biologist to identify where the wetlands were, and but we haven't done any detailed design of what the grading is along those wetlands, or submitted any applications for environmental resource permits.
So then you don't know that if it really connects to anything or goes anywhere. It's just identified as a wetlands, as your report indicates, right?
No, we know that based on our survey and the reporting that we did get from our biologist.
Okay, I'm not understanding.
So that initial, what has been done has determined that they're not interconnected, that those wetlands are not interconnected with the larger wetlands that are being preserved, so they have a lesser value. What we haven't done is the next step, which would come after a rezoning, that we have to go through with the state to, properly mitigate and do that the right way.
All right, well, is it fair to say that the open space and the DRA space could reduce your 2.5 units per acre? Because you got a lot of space. If you take your open space and your DRA, add it together, I mean, you're doing a very broad project, but you're cramming all the houses in small little areas to get 40, 50, and 60-foot wide or 54-foot wide lots. I wonder if you could, is there a reason why you're giving so much? I probably know that from an engineer's point, why you're doing 15 DRAs, but the community probably don't know that. But are you using the DRA as your open space as well, or some of it?
So yes, so the DRAs and any property that doesn't consist of residential lots or the footprints of the amenities, for example, are per the code. It's a gross acreage analysis. So again, the code provides for up to 6 units per acre in this future land use district and Atlas district or zoning district, and we're at 2.5. I don't know that I follow though. So I'm trying to answer your question, but I don't know if I'm doing so.
Well, I mean, I live in the area, right? So I know that the area there's pretty good sized lots there. And now you're going to cram everything in together like a sardines in a can, for example, in some parts of the project, but then other parts of the project you're leaving wide open. You're not really sharing the wealth of the space that you can have 60-foot lot lines or instead of 40-foot. And 40-foot lot lines or 40-foot widths are very tight. And I know what the sell side of it is, but I'm on the environmental side of it. I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, so I guess an alternative design with the same number of units but larger lots and less assembled open space or consolidated open space through the areas that you see would result in everybody having a bit of a larger lawn but less open space that is available to all, or that provides view sheds for 40 lots because it's on the interior side of 40 backyards, as you see in many of these little pockets. So what I was mentioning at the forefront, and this is where development is going, is clustered development so that you can set aside meaningful open space where someone either has a nice view or can take a walk, or a wetland is preserved. It's just a better design, in my opinion.
All right, so I'll just get to your setbacks, because that could change your setbacks if you widen reduced your homes, right? You wouldn't need to be asking us for a 15-foot setback when 25 foot's required, or 10-foot where you're asking for 10 foot. I mean, you can actually do the actual setbacks if you reduce the number of homes and still make money, right? Maybe not as much money, but you'll still your project should be still making some money.
So
that's not my call to make the money.
Well, you raise a good point, which we can, and I should have brought this up, just like the 50% ISR, because additional planning's been done before we got here today. We can move that 15-foot front setback and make that a 20-foot front setback, and that's not a factor of trying to make more money. That's a factor of designing on, we're showing a minimum lot size that's 110 feet deep. In fact, the plan is calling for a 120-foot deep lot. And once we factor in the design of the larger homes on some of those lots and how that lines up with making sure that a vehicle has sufficient clearance for a sidewalk and somebody walking by on the sidewalk not to be interfered with, 20 feet is adequate. So I can offer that up because you mentioned the front setback.
All right, and What about the wildlife that's on this property? You didn't go into detail on your wildlife. In fact, in your presentation so far, you haven't even mentioned wildlife.
From the ecological assessment done by the biologist, the only identified species on the site was gopher tortoises. There are several bird species that they included in the report that didn't have suitable habitat and that weren't observed on the property. It was really just the gopher tortoises that they witnessed.
What about unprotected species? Is there any thought or anything put into that?
There was no mention of it in the report.
No deer, no hogs, none of that out there?
Again, I'm not the biologist, and there wasn't any mention of those in the report.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Shara.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've promised I'm going to keep my comments brief, but I need to wander around just a little bit because this is a complex application. I'd like to start with a couple things that have been discussed already. Your answer on Tram Road, that was one of the questions I was going to have, to Mr. Facemeyer's question. I have driven Tram Road. It is paved. There are mailboxes and driveways coming off of Tram Road. I don't know specifically if there are additional residences beyond the point where Tram Road would intersect with your property. Other than the graphic representation there, I didn't realize Tram Road was on your property. So has anyone taken a look? I'll ask the same question of county, but have you taken a look to see if there's any additional residences beyond where Tram Road intersects your property?
Yeah, while Gene's coming up, I'm gonna see if I can get him to get this up. Because it would be helpful to show this.
Yeah, so looking at an aerial, there's a structure at the end of it, at the end of Tram Road, so that'd be like somewhere
That's
down here.
west.
Yeah, I think it becomes heated the further down you go. I haven't gone all the way down to the end of it. I just kind of stayed within the limits of our property.
So, is there any way I can show a clear? We have a projector or anything?
Page 80. Should be already in your slide. Yeah, page 80. If y'all look at page 80, it's very clear. Of their slide.
It's not really page 80, though, because our packet is 184 pages long.
Right,
Right.
80 of 184.
Oh, is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
So Rob, on page 80 of 184 shows clearly that Tram Road does go onto your property.
Yeah. So does 174.
And so my question is, it looks like these parcels that exist to in this case it'd be the west because you need the orientation of the drawing. There are private parcels. So how do we ensure that in fact these people will be given access to their properties?
Yeah, so I can tell you as an attorney that we can't interfere with people's legal access to their property. What I was going to show, and this sort of shows it, but that portion of our property shows Tram Road as undisturbed and then shows basically the 15-foot buffer on the east side, so our inside of Tram Road. So our buffer and our fence would be east of the existing road. So to the extent it's going to be undisturbed.
Okay, so I guess if you could, or if you would allow me, number one, we're going to acknowledge that Tram Road is on your property. Number two, you're making testimony, and I'll have to ask our county attorney if your representation consists of testimony that in fact you would preserve access on Tram Road to the people that live on Tram Road. That would have to be done at a minimum, and you would have to preserve that in perpetuity to give these people access to their homes and their properties.
Yes, so any existing access rights that they enjoy, we cannot interfere with, and that's, I guess, my legal opinion, but it's a fact. Yeah, that we can't interfere with their access, nor do we plan to.
Okay, we'll come back and I'll ask counsel for that one. Thank you for that one. So the other one is the next question. Again, I'm wandering around a little bit.
Sure, that's fine.
That's what happens when you come late to the party. in terms of asking questions. Let's go back up to Route 200. Busy road, time of day, you know, I've driven it a number of times just to get a feel for the traffic flow. And, you know, of course, to the north of the property, you start to get into a sweeping curve that leads you north out to where it intersects with 491. I realize it's your obligation. It's a state road. It's not part of this, you know, we don't have say on that. But clearly there's going to have to be some type of turn lanes installed. I would say clearly, just from a common sense perspective. Your drawings are not dimensioned. So yet you show that you have property running close to the boundary line of what you show as Route 200. These are not engineered drawings. So what are you doing to make sure that you can, in fact, if required by the state DOT, install the proper turn lanes, whether it's a future traffic light, whatever it may be? What are you doing with that?
Yeah, so the process with DOT after the pre-app, which has been, well, and Gene can come speak to this if you'd like, but his firm will do the transportation impact analysis that they'll require. That'll also look at separation between existing driveway cuts. It'll look at, to your point, sight lines from that curve and identify what we need to do, if anything, to mitigate any impacts on that stretch of road and any other, if any, intersections that we're affecting. So that's what we'll be required to do by DOT. That may very well include a turn lane or multiple turn lanes, who knows, but that's something that comes, you know, after the rezoning. That's when we engage or continue to engage with DOT, and once the zoning's in place, tackle that issue and make sure that we comply with anything DOT requires.
So if we walk through a logical timeline, the DOT analysis and agreement with DOT comes first, and then you may be required to go back and do revised engineering on the actual layout, if in fact that would impact, if the right-of-way and right-of-way requirements would impact what you've shown here on your sketch. I don't look at this as a engineered drawing at this point, not being dimensioned. This looks to me like it's illustrative.
Yes.
I'll call it a cartoon because there's way too much work has gone into this. But in fact, this is not a commitment to exactly what this project's going to look like, is it?
No, so your code lays out specific requirements for a PUD master plan. That, of course, is less intense than, or less detailed than, the step to come, which, if it's going to be a platted subdivision, is a preliminary plat or preliminary subdivision plan. And if it's going to be just one commercial site, then, you know, a site development plan. That's like the next step. And so in between this step and that step, if it's on a state road, we also ensure that we work with DOT to make sure that where we're depicting access on that next step, that next plan, complies with what DOT is requiring. And then when staff looks at that next plan, they make sure that there's no material modification from our PUD master plan, that it complies with the PUD master plan.
Okay. All right. Next question for you. When I go back and read 2405, low density residential district LDR, and we've talked about this. You talked about it with staff and several other questions. Now we're talking about intensity, ISR. The maximum lot coverage is 35%. Tell me how you are actually, what kind of calculation you've done, or what is the numerator and denominator in calculating intensity that you come up with? You said you would commit to 50%, but then you said that that's not on a per lot basis, that's on a site basis. So tell me how you interpret the definition of how ISR is calculated.
Yes, so that's simply your impervious service ratio. So in the proposed staff condition, it provides the maximum ISR in the residential area is 0.65 on a plat-wide basis. So that is throughout, not per lot, but throughout the entire, I guess, any plat, and we can talk about that, but any individual plat. We can bring that down to 50 because of additional detail that we now know as they've done additional planning. As Mr. Gibbs described, on a per lot basis, that becomes difficult, especially when we're in the modern approach of clustering the density on a bit smaller lots, so everybody's not mowing a half acre, but it's clustered so that we can set aside meaningful open space. So that sometimes will exceed well, and as he described it, he's literally plugging into his CAD or his system the footprint of the home, the driveway, the lanai, any impervious improvements, and then dividing that by the square footage of each lot. And if that's a 40 by 120, that's the denominator. And calculating that on a lot by lot basis. Like many that have come through in the last few years, we're asking that it be applied on a project-wide or plat-wide basis.
Is your interpretation of the code is it can be applied on a plat-wide basis as compared to a lot basis?
Yeah.
Or
So
you're asking for a deviation?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, that's part of the reason we're before you with a PUD, I suppose. And all the ones that I'm referring to came forward as PUDs to address it on that plat-wide basis.
Okay. I think and we'll come back and talk to staff about that. I guess I interpret our role here in the PDC is to take a look at the comprehensive plan, take a look at the LDC, ensure there's compatibility. We don't get into detail engineering and design. I'm hung up on the 40-foot wide lot, 50-foot wide lots. And I went looking to see if there is anywhere in the LDC or the comp plan that defines minimum lot dimensions. If it comes down to a matter of taste, if that's what a consumer wants to buy, and your product is what in fact you can sell, I don't know that violates what I was looking for. Did that violate either the comp plan or the LDC? Is there any, to your knowledge, is there any specific location in either of those documents that define minimum lot width?
I'm going to defer. I don't believe so.
Your question.
No. I think we handle it on a density. We handle it as density as units per acre.
So you're looking at it in intensity, ISR, and density and dwelling units per acre.
That's how we're asking. And again, it's the clustered
make
approach. It's the clustered approach. Yes, sir.
So from our perspective, taste, in other words, do I want to live on a small house on a 40-foot wide lot? Does that meet my personal needs? That isn't defined other than through, the calculation of ISR and dwelling units per acre.
Yes, but I think, part of what you're referring to also could be compatibility, and that is
I
what
want to
you're
come to
looking
that
at.
next. So
yeah, that's what you're looking at. Yeah.
So next we look at compatibility, and there's many trees on this lot, and I've been involved in projects my entire career, and I was interested in your biological report on specimen trees, quality trees as compared to scrub, as compared to just things that have grown up over time that some of them may be invasive or not, and I'm not addressing wildlife and protected species. That's a whole nother conversation. What can you do to preserve more of the trees? There's been some poor performance in developers in the recent past in clear-cutting lots. In a clear-cut lot, and I won't speak to any particular development, but clear-cutting of a lot reduces the cost. It allows more efficient movement of earth, of contour changes, but it also can destroy the natural feel of the community. So when you say you're going to preserve 30% of those specimen trees greater than 24 inches, where are those located? How are they located? Why don't you save more?
Yeah, so I can tell you a lot of thought has gone into the the contours of this property and how to do that. The fact that 30% of the specimen trees are going to be preserved took a lot of effort. I think one thing that, and I'm not here to speak on behalf of anybody except for, Pulte here, but it can be done the right way, and it has been done in Citrus County the right way. Some of the, and I won't name communities, but some of the communities that may be associated with the seller, by the way, that are looked at as the gem of the county. What we fail to realize, in my opinion, oftentimes 20 years after a community was developed, that we think is beautiful and has beautiful trees and beautiful landscaping that's mature, is that 20 years before, they may have had contour issues too and had to, do major site work that required a temporary loss of trees. But with the right landscaping plan and a commitment to exceed what we now have as a really strong code in Citrus County, the new code that I'm still referring to as new, once those plantings are mature, it's going to be, no one is going to miss some of these mature trees once these new trees are mature. And
So
that's
let me,
just,
if I could,
yeah.
specimen tree, is there any requirement other than just diameter? Are they the type of tree, for instance, live oaks or other trees that are, long-term lifespan? Or are they is it just 24 inches without any other consideration of the type of trees?
There's a list of species.
I believe I saw that, but I can't recall it. Okay. Buffers you talked about, and I think I do understand what it is you're saying. The reduced lot size we've addressed, the ISR we've addressed, the reduced setbacks. So you're asking for a deviation from 25 foot to 15 foot for the front. You've also asking deviations on corner lots, and why? Tell me specifically why you want to reduce that frontage.
Yeah. So first of all, we can move from 15 to 20 on the front setbacks, but that is just a factor of so there are a number of different models, some of which you saw today, that are appropriate for each one of those lot sizes. Those lots are all 120 feet in depth. And so once you plug in even though the minimum says 110, they're designed to be 120. And so we can increase to 20 because effectively when we overlay each home model onto that 40 by 120, 50 by 120, 64 by 120, we're accounting for, from the garage and driveway, ensuring that enough space is there for a large vehicle, like a truck, or to park without poking out into the sidewalk. And that's what we're trying to ensure. And we asked for 15. We can do that with 20.
Can you do it with 25?
No.
Are we negotiating, or are you just?
I'm just telling you. So that. Well, I can. Yeah, I mean, this board can make any recommendation, but yeah, no, that the 20 is what we can do to make sure that that you don't have cars poking out into sidewalks when somebody has a large
You hit
vehicle.
exactly on the issue I was going to go to, is you've got some larger vehicles, particularly larger pickup trucks that may be there, that in fact you don't want extending out into the sidewalk in particular.
And that's why I can't agree. If I agree to 25, then I can't tell you we won't have them poking out into the sidewalk.
And you're right, we can only make recommendations. I just want to be sure, there are sidewalks in the entire community, correct?
Yes, sir. Sidewalks and a multi-use trail. Yes, sir.
Both sides of the street?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to step down here for a second and see if anyone else has any questions.
Does anyone else have any more questions? Mr. Scherer, do you have any more questions?
No, thank you. I'll stop.
You sure? I'm not stopping you.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
I would love for you to ask a question.
Who gets to use the sidewalks? Only people in the neighborhood or neighbors outside?
It's a gated community. Yeah, it's a gated community. So.
Thank you.
I thought I read somewhere in the package that there were sidewalks only on one side of the street.
Yeah.
Me too. I did too.
Me
That's why I
too.
asked.
Originally, when we were putting the plan together, that's what we had initially requested. Yeah, the code, the Citrus County Code requires it to be on both sides based on the number of lots that are on the street, and our client is agreeable to having it on both sides of the street.
And we're not asking for a deviation from that requirement, so we'd be obligated to construct on
Understand.
both sides.
I just remembered what I read, so thought it was worthy of bringing it up.
Mr. Chair, if I could,
Yes, sir.
What is your build-out plan from the time you get, you would get approval?
So probably, I'm told, over the course of 6 to 7 years, but that's hard to say based on market conditions and absorption.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Questions from the staff? You already did them all? Okay. Just making sure we're getting all these questions out of the way. It's been a little while, so I'm trying to remember where we're at in this. Yeah, so we're ready for the staff to come up. I'm sorry.
Clear up all this.
Good morning. Joe Hockadell, Principal Planner. So this application is being requested to allow for a plan unit development on the subject property. You can see here, this is the master plan that is being proposed with some of the dimensional standards and some of the calculations that have been provided. The subject property is low-density residential, which does allow for up to 2 dwelling units per acre by right, and it does allow for someone to request additional density over 2 dwelling units per acre up to 6 dwelling units per acre if they can get an approved PUD. With this property being about 226 acres in size, if they did the 2 dwelling units per acre that's allowed by right, that would allow up to 452 dwelling units on this site. So the applicant is requesting, excuse me, a couple deviations with this. One of them is the increased impervious surface ratio, the ISR. As you heard the testimony earlier, originally it was 65%. The applicant has indicated that they could go down to 50% on a plat-wide basis for the impervious surface ratio. They are also requesting reduced setbacks. Again, originally it was a 15-foot front setback as what was submitted, but the applicant has indicated they could go with a 20-foot front setback. And they are requesting smaller lots for this development, 40-foot wide, 50-foot wide, and 64-foot wide. So there is minimum lot widths in the land development code. It states that the minimum width on a county-maintained roadway is, or a roadway is 100-foot wide, typically, but you can go less than that if you have water and sewer available and if you're part of a planned unit development. So they are requesting the reduced lot widths. So this is just kind of to blow up the plan a little bit so you can see a little better what's going on this site. This is the north half of the property. North would be to the left. There are some phasing lines shown in here. They're kind of hard to see, but let me see if I can. So yeah, you can see there's phase 1B with the red line that kind of goes around, and there's phase 1A with the amenity area, the wet DRA, and the entrance drive here. As the applicant stated, there are some existing wetlands on site that are proposed to be removed and mitigated, and I think you can see some of those right there. I think there's another one right here. There are also some wetlands that are proposed to be conserved. There's one here, and then there's one up by State Road 200, and this would be along Tram Road. And so moving on to the south side of the project, you can see a little bit better what the proposal is here. You heard earlier, and it is mentioned in the staff report, there wasn't a plan unit development that was approved previously on this project back in 2006 for 350 homes. It would be more or less this portion down here where that previous plan unit development was approved for. It was never platted, it was never constructed, nothing ever happened with it, it expired, and so in 2020 that plan unit development was removed. And so the property went to the underlying low-density residential land use district. So here you can see some of the supplementary information that was provided as part of this. I realized there was incorrect information in the staff report. It said the 15-foot buffer was unspecified. However, this illustration here shows that it is a type C all the way around. And so here you can see what the proposed development would look like compared to the surrounding area. This area is a little unique in how some of the surrounding area has been developed. You can see to the east there are lots as part of a subdivision on the other side of State Road 200 that would be somewhat comparable to what the applicant is requesting. I believe those are roughly 80-foot wide lots over on the east side. However, if you look at all the other properties surrounding this development site, you go from anywhere from 1-acre lots to up to 40-acre lots. So the properties surrounding this are larger lots, Some of them are vacant, some of them are improved. And so the request in front of you with the 40-foot lots, although it is 2.5 dwelling units per acre, the lots being proposed themselves do not appear to be compatible with the development that has been, the development that is existing around it. But the applicant has stated that they intend to mitigate that through the type C landscape buffers and, as they stated earlier, the decorative concrete wall and fencing all the way around the property. Staff has prepared conditions for this, although based on the testimony this morning, we had to modify some of those. I'll have to go through some of those modifications here. The first one would be condition number 5. That talks about the development standards as outlined on the master plan. If this is recommended for approval and if the applicant is agreeable to a 20-foot front setback, we would have to include that into condition number 5, as well as modify the maximum ISR to 50% flat wide. For condition number 6, we did, for clarification purposes, want to add that the residential tree standards as outlined in the LDC must be met at time of the improvement plans for the plat. For condition 8, part B, it's the one that speaks about Tram Road. No connection to Tram Road is approved at this time, and we would add, and North Tram Road will be undisturbed by this development. There would be a new condition that we would add that the decorative wall on the east and south side of the subject property, or of the development, this would allow for a decorative wall on the east and south side of the development inside the landscape buffer, and a fence outside the plantings per land development, or a fence per land development code outside the plantings on the remainder of the buffer. We would also have to add a condition for reduced right-of-way setbacks for the decorative wall along State Road 200, as the applicant did indicate that the decorative wall itself would not meet the setback standard from the right-of-way. So we'd have to add a condition for that. And other than that, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Joe. Are there any questions from the applicant for the staff?
I have one. I'm sorry.
Could you just clarify for me that, I just want to make sure we get it right, that last condition concerning the buffers, the walls or fences, and the orientation of the plantings within or outside of that, the wall or plantings?
Sure, and that was based on, I believe, the testimony you had earlier.
Yeah.
The decorative wall is proposed along State Road 200 and the properties on the south. And I believe you had indicated that the decorative wall would be inside the plantings, so the plantings would be located between the wall and the property lines or the right-of-way. Is that correct?
Okay, so that is the decorative wall lying south of the south entrance. So in other words, the south half of the property, the decorative wall is proposed to be on the actual boundary outside of the 15-foot buffer. And that will continue along the south boundary. But in all other locations, any decorative wall or fence will be on the inside of the landscape buffer. I'm just making sure we're on the same page there. And is there a pointer?
Oh, I may have got it backwards.
No, he's changed it a little bit.
So, essentially, the decorative wall on the east side of our property, and within that level, and then continuing west along the south boundary, that'll be on the boundary. All other areas of the project that include a wall or fence will be
So basically, the east side would be where it abuts 200. You're going to go out, have the landscaping outside, but otherwise you're going without. Okay.
Along where the roadway is, basically. You're going back where the roadway is, then where the roadway isn't, the lots along 200, you're going to be on the property line with the plantings on the inside of it.
Yes, sir. And that's really, practically speaking, because when plantings are on the outside, whoever's maintaining that just gets confused about whether it's your bush or my bush that they're trimming. You know,
Right.
Yeah, so.
Is that your only question?
Do you really need a walls deviation on 200? I don't know that you need that. That's setback. Are you really going to have a wall within 125 feet of the center line? I know you said really quickly yes, but I'm not sure that's really that's not usual.
Are you asking about the wall on the northern portion of the project on 200?
Yeah, so we had to add a setback. Based on the testimony, we had to add a condition that says there's a deviation from that front setback of 125 feet, because Ms. Collins had asked that. Do you really need that? Is that really something you want that deviation for? It was a really quick response, and I'm not sure that's something that you really need.
I'm going to rely on Mr. Lizito here.
Yes, that's what I think they're saying. Yes, in that area. That's what I'm saying, when they do a landscape buffer, by that time, they're probably not needing a deviation.
You do need that deviation, so 125 foot setback is this dash line. And the buffer is on that side of it. The wall will be on the property line. The building setback is here, but none of our lots encroach in that building setback.
The wall up here will be in the property line.
It'll be basically on the property line.
So will the 15 setback be on the right of way side?
You're correct.
Yeah, okay.
On the side, the 15 foot.
Mhm.
Because it would impact the wetland, that might need to be clarified in the condition.
Okay.
But the wall would be 15
So
foot
we're just
off
going
our
to track up in here or
property.
somewhere.
Yeah, I guess we could. But yeah, you're right. 15 foot of plantings, then the wall.
It's inside the 125 foot setback.
Yeah.
I know, I had, it
Okay.
was 68 when we.
Okay, so
71.
the area north of our access, our northern access. Well, to answer your question, let me start there. Yes, the buffer and wall in some areas will encroach in the 125 foot right of way setback. By a few, it varies, but just it's a minor encroachment, but it will encroach. So yes, we are
We
asking.
need to have some kind of, you want a deviation, but what's the approximate setback you're gonna want in the condition?
Yeah, this would still be 15 feet from the property line.
Okay, so we'll just put that in that condition.
And the only other thing I would mention, in case, Joanna, in case you want to cover this, I don't know if you do, but the bright green wetland just north of the northern access point, we would not propose extending a wall through the wetland because that would impact the wetland. So I just mentioned that as a design. I don't know if we want to get creative and include that. But we do not intend to put a wall on a wetland.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, so that condition, if this is recommended for approval, is deviation from the wall setback along 200, 15 feet from the property line, and will not impact wetlands.
Correct. Yes, ma'am. Okay, that's all. Thank you. That wasn't really a question, so thank you.
It was a question about the deviation, so you're fine. Thank you.
You good, Mr. Batzel?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions from the board? I have one real quick. Can you tell me what residential land use designation is a 50% ISR? We're reversing it, right? So it's kind of like now I'm making you pull up your glossary. 50% ISR, what land use designation allows that? Residential.
Medium density residential.
And higher?
High density residential is 55%.
Okay. So MDR would allow 50%?
Yes.
So anything MDR, residentially MDR and higher. Okay. Ms. Collins?
I just have one on the life of a PUD. I can't remember in the LDC Land Development Code what it is, and
It's 3 years.
3 years. Okay, so
It-
they need
so
to
it's-
be aware of that.
Yeah, it's 3 years from the date of approval to obtaining a development order.
And basically then commence in good faith and.
Right. So if they submit preliminary plats and improvement plans within that 3 years, that would be considered development order, and the PUD would stay alive. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Shara?
Morning, Joe. I'd like to go back to the calculation of ISR intensity. I asked Mr. Basil about the calculation. How would you define ISR on a site-wide basis versus a lot basis?
So ISR is based on the gross square footage or acreage of a property. For developed or existing subdivisions that are not part of a PUD that has any specific criteria or condition, we would go based on the lots that are available. So in other words, if you purchased a single-family lot that was low-density residential, you would have a 35% impervious surface ratio, and that's all impervious surface compared to the square footage of your property. There have been several residential subdivisions that are part of PUDs that have been approved in the last 3 or 4 years that have requested additional ISR on a plat-wide basis. And so when they come in for improvement plans, where they're putting in their roadways and their stormwater and their other improvements, they have to calculate that at the time of improvement plans, showing that those improvements on, even if it's phased, on that phase isn't going to exceed the maximum impervious surface that's allowed by that PUD.
So what we're really talking about here is a deviation from the LDC, where the LDC addresses a lot-by-lot basis, maximum 35% in low density. And what's being requested then is that we look at it not on a lot basis, but on a site basis, and we give them a deviation from 35% to 50%.
They're requesting that deviation, yes.
From 35 to, and today's discussion was 50
Yes.
versus 65.
50%.
Okay. So the actual calculation that's done in the LDC is on a lot-by-lot basis, and what you're saying is in the past, there's been some deviations granted that would allow to look at it on a site basis.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Water and sewer availability and concurrency, and this is a general question, because we've had a number of different applications come forward over the last couple of years. Do you know, when the county looks at availability and quotes availability numbers, both for potable water and wastewater, do they consider the other projects that have already been approved and gone through the Board of County Commissioners in that use? Or is it in, if you will, it's just saying this is what's available today, and the first comers will get that next tranche of availability, and the later folks would have to then work through the improvements of the water and wastewater system?
My understanding of that is that the Utilities Division does take into account the approved projects. So anything that has come through previously that has been approved, they do take the water usage of those into account when a new project comes in front of them. I don't know if Joanna could maybe.
Yeah, there's not actually, we don't have like reservation certificates generally, so they may have been approved and they do look at availability, but capacity-wise, it's who comes in the door. So it's I know it's not the answer, it sounds great, but generally, we don't have, I locked mine in, generally.
Okay, so
there's
they're
a
basically
mechanism.
talking about unencumbered or available capacity as of today, regardless of what else has been approved or might be coming down, because there's no guarantee those come into the system.
Right, now that means then they can't develop. If they don't have the water and sewer available when they're ready to develop, it's a no.
So it's on a first-come, first-served basis then?
It is.
And those who come later will have to deal with the issues of
We'll have to have
capacity?
no until they can get it available.
I'm with you. Thank you. Joe, last question. You mentioned that there is a minimum width per lot in the LDC. I went looking for it. I couldn't find it. Can you help me?
Yeah, it's in Chapter 2 of the Land Development Code. It's minimum lot requirements
All uses, yep.
for all uses. Yeah, I was pretty close to it. And so that does say that if it is a property on well and or septic, well and or septic, it's a minimum 1/2 acre in size and minimum 100 feet of frontage on a roadway.
Section 2200.
2,200? Thank you.
Yes.
But it doesn't address if it's not. It just simply says if it is this.
Well, then it says that lots can be reduced to a width of no less than 40 feet if it has central water, central sewer, is located in the planned service area, and I don't remember everything else, but I know those are part of it.
So what the applicant is proposing, although it feels really uncomfortable at 40 feet, is in fact consistent then with the LDC Chapter 2200.
If this
Water and sewer, correct? They have water and sewer.
As far as we know, yes.
Well, they're making a representation that they will secure water and sewer. So what were the other standards? I'm sorry.
And it's located in the planned service area.
So
which
they're
this is.
located in a PSA?
Yes.
Okay. So they've checked the box in terms of the LDC?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Joe.
Mr. Barmez, did I see your hand down there?
No, Mr. Sheriff just answered asked my question, so
Okay.
thank you.
No, Mr. Facemeyer? Nobody else? Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry.
Hey,
Yep.
let's go.
Yeah, this is what it is when, Tram Road, and this is more of a legal question. The applicant has represented that they can't impede access to private property owners, even though a road goes through their property. I'm not familiar with this. Is this, and you had modified your condition regarding open access to private property owners. Is that in fact from your interpretation acceptable?
I haven't looked at the title issues for Tram Road or the deeds, so I really can't say, but it sounds like the conditions cover it. But I don't know from a title aspect how that road was created. I don't know how the county came to maintain it. I don't have any of that information.
Should we modify the condition that would also include the upkeep and maintenance of that road?
I think it's already a county-maintained road, so I don't know.
It is to a point, yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
But is that an appropriate condition to put in and maintaining,
It's already a county-maintained road.
But
Property
it's
owner
now
doesn't
on,
maintain it
but it's
now.
going to be on private property.
It's been on private property.
And I don't know what the easement rights are of the various folks, and there's a gentleman at the end, he's got the 40 acres that, I don't know if he has something in his deed that allows him to traverse that. I honestly, I'm sorry, I can't answer that.
So I guess the question a different way would be, is the wording in our condition sufficient to protect their property rights?
And again, I can't answer that. It's the applicant's burden when they come before you to alleviate any questions or concerns that you may have. I haven't done the title search, so you're going to have to rely on the arguments and statements of Mr. Batzel about it.
Is
Or not.
is Mr. Basil considered testimony, or is he considered legal input?
He is not considered testimony. When a lawyer is before you, they're presenting argument to you. They're not presenting testimony.
So technically, those comments related to the use and maintenance of Tram Road aren't in the application.
You're making a condition about it, so that's helping you. And they've drawn it on their master site plan, so that's in evidence, if you will. But the legal ownership or whether there's any easements, that I don't know. And I've sat through this process with you, and I don't know whether there's any easements.
All right, thank
So
you.
that hasn't been presented to you.
Everybody good? Thank you, Mr. Hockadell. I know everyone's been sitting here and we need the public portion of the input or public input. It's been almost 2 hours and I need a restroom break. So we're just going to take a 5 minute and we're going to come right back real quick. The public portion of the meeting will now be opened. If there is anyone present who would like to speak on this application, please come forward to the podium. As a reminder, individuals have 3 minutes and organizations have 5. When speaking on this application, please address the board. If you have any documentation that you want to be entered into the record, please provide a copy to the recording secretary.
I sound worse than I feel, so just know that.
Name and address,
Dee
please.
Ray, Dee Ray, Citrus Springs. The proposal by Pulte Group for Del Webb River Oaks properties presents a master plan but raises red flags regarding the environment and the conceptual drawings of the homes. First off, the county must evaluate the cumulative impacts together with the existing development or any foreseeable future expansion of a Del Webb community. In particular, environmental degradation, stormwater management, public infrastructure strain, and environmental limitations such as gopher tortoises, specimen trees, and wetlands on site. And one of the many concerns is water demand. With additional homes comes the increased demand on groundwater, particularly during our ongoing drought. They plan on tapping into existing central water and central sewer. This is the same argument with Holder Industrial Park, and here we are again, defending our Floridian aquifer. The long-term protection of this precious resource shall be our primary consideration in all land use decisions. Again, we have to argue against deforestation, displacement of wildlife habitat, and affecting wetlands and groundwater recharge. The low-density residential district has a maximum impervious surface ratio of 35%, and this application proposes an impervious surface ratio of 65%, and the cumulative runoff increases greater demands on drainage systems. What about the surrounding property owners potentially being affected? This is not the nature coast they planned on. This is nature coast urban sprawl. We also have to think about traffic, environmental impacts, and infrastructure costs. Infrastructure costs include roads, utilities, stormwater systems, and emergency services. Emergency services often require upgrades as development expands, raising questions about who pays for those improvements. The applicant is requesting approval for a 2.5 dwelling unit per acre on 40, 50, and 64 feet wide lots, while allowing a maximum impervious surface ratio of 65% on each lot. That means nearly 2/3 of every residential lot could be covered by hard surfaces that will prevent rainwater from naturally soaking into the ground. And this alone should concern every Citrus County resident. Not to mention a toxic mix of contaminants can be carried from the runoff. Del Webb typically offers golf courses and lawn care as a standard benefit for residents, and to name a couple of the pollutants, lawn pesticides and herbicides can infiltrate our drinking water supply and groundwater. And just as with the Holder Industrial Park, the county should require independent engineering studies, stormwater analysis, groundwater recharge evaluations, and cumulative impact assessments to demonstrate the project will not adversely affect surrounding properties, public infrastructure, or private wells. Del Webb, thank you.
No, she got, I'm sorry, nope.
That's all right.
You can keep going.
Del Webb is a distinct brand that specializes in 55 active adult communities, which are restricted and designed for retirees and not the general workforce. According to their advertising, residents enjoy a resort lifestyle. Although it varies, average HOA fees for Del Webb typically range from $250 to $450 per month. As a side note, as of January 1st, the property tax deduction will increase, resulting in less revenue, which means Del Webb homeowners will be paying more for their HOA fees than for property taxes. And according to the Citrus County Chronicle, March 30th this year, titled County Targets Workforce Housing for 2026 reads, the BOCC has made workforce housing one of its targets for action for 2026. These individuals are typically teachers, police officers, firefighters, EMS personnel, healthcare workers, among other professionals. As we know, Citrus County already experiences a workforce problem and refers to a critical shortage of affordable housing for working class residents, not a lack of retirement communities. So these Del Webb communities attract retirees and therefore does not resolve workforce problems in our county. Unfortunately, this development for retirees would be encouraging added population expansion, stressing our infrastructure more than it is now. Our community's infrastructure is not where it needs to be in order to encourage this unnecessary added growth, which will most likely come from outside of our county. As commissioners, you have the responsibility to ensure that development is consistent with the comp plan and that growth does not come at the expense of environmental degradation and the quality of life we all enjoy now and in the future. I respectfully ask that you decline the request for an amendment to the Land Development Code to adopt a master plan for residential development. The benefit does not outweigh the loss of the nature coast. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ray.
Hi there, my name's Susan Shadell. I live at 6080 North Bayfront Drive, Hernando. While the Del Webb proposal is lovely, its plan destroys areas of wetlands located in the interior of the property. Wetlands are not something we can replace, and stormwater retention areas are not a substitute. Especially disturbing is removing specimen trees from the low-lying areas. Wetlands act as the planet's natural infrastructure. They absorb floodwater, filter pollutants, and provide critical wildlife habitat. They are vital nesting, feeding, and resting grounds for a vast array of wildlife, including migratory birds, fish, and amphibians. Destroying them increases downstream flood risks, degrades water quality, and can cause structural hazards for any buildings constructed on unstable former wetlands, such as cracked foundations and sinkholes. Those are both prevalent in my neighborhood, which is directly across State Road 200 in River Lakes Manor, which was built on filled wetlands before their importance was recognized. We have been in record drought. The lake behind my house has become a prairie. However, after a hurricane or two, it will refill. During heavy rain, our neighborhood regularly floods, and standing water can sit in low-lying yards for weeks. Doing a wetland study during a drought does not give an accurate survey of the land. A brief look for wildlife does not accurately record the vast array of animals that live and rely on this land. I have been on this land multiple times, and each time I witnessed more than one animal. I have seen an enormous variety of birds, pileated woodpeckers, deer, hog, turkey, a bear, and even endangered indigo snakes, which take shelter in the gopher tortoise burrows. Also, while a wall along State Road 200 would be beneficial to reduce traffic fatalities for animals, a fence abutting the other rural areas will not allow animals the freedom to roam in the habitat they call home. While a Del Webb subdivision is an upgrade to many of the Citrus County developers, and their intent to leave 30% specimen trees and include green spaces is appreciated, it does not go far enough. Citrus County must continue to preserve and protect all wetlands, our wildlife, and our rural spaces. Del Webb, please amend your plan to align with our values. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love Citrus County.
Next speaker.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Brandon Ludwig, live at 5879 North Carl G. Road. It's right there at the entrance to that south exit there. The one thing I got is watershed. I got a 4-foot wide, 3-inch deep canal that comes down my yard every time it rains. The watershed coming off of there is going to be ridiculous. And not to mention wildlife hunting and fishing and stuff like that. But I vote to deny it and just keep it low density like it is. That don't fit Hernando at all. None of that does. The whole community, none of it fits. And that's about all I got. Just keep it rolling, keep Hernando a small town, keep it, quiet. Keep it quiet. That's all I got. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir.
My name's Beth Antrim. I live in Hernando, back behind River Lakes Manor area. And while I've been sitting here today, I think the use of the term density at 2.5 units per acre is somewhat misleading. The density of lots 40 by 110 feet on an acre is more like 9 to 10 units per acre, which is a much more intense use than the neighboring LDR lands. This is the villages coming to Citrus County, and I don't know that we want the villages here. It raises three concerns, in my mind anyway. The first is removing the wetlands and trees and increasing the ISR, may increase flooding, as was seen in the new developments in Manatee County after the last hurricane. They were in very rural areas. Wildlife was displaced down there. The residents were basically trapped in their neighborhoods. They couldn't get out because all their streets were flooded because of the lack of impervious surfaces. I think I might have said that backwards. But anyway, I'm sure you get my point. Second, traffic, an additional 7 to 1,000 cars on Highway 200, where there are no improvements planned within the time that this project is going to be built out. Last but not least is the destruction of the habitat and the displacement of wildlife. I've driven along that property for the last 25 years, 5 to 7 days a week, and I've seen deer, hogs, turkey, eagles, owls, split-tailed kites, pileated woodpeckers, gopher tortoises, and much other forms of wildlife, and especially the birds. If the trees are removed and the habitat's destroyed, then they have to leave as well. So I would recommend that you recommend denial, or at a minimum, deny their request to increase the ISR and demand that the wetlands be preserved and a greater percentage of the specimen trees be preserved as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Robin Orlandi, Dunellen. I've got a letter on file for Sierra Club and request the 5 minutes, please. So a lot of the previous speakers made points I was going to make, and I won't reiterate because I was at that 8-hour meeting 2 weeks ago, and I know you guys have heard plenty. What I'm seeing here is business as usual by a developer, expecting the county, state agencies to provide guardrails for the environment, conservation, water use in ways that are not sustainable. So part of my comments is going to be to the developers to come back with better plans that are more sustainable, that consider water, that don't maximize impervious surfaces. The intensity of use, and we would formally ask the board to please deny this application or heavily restrict along the lines of the questions that you've been asking and ask for a continuance. The intensity of use in terms of maximizing impervious surface affects our water resources in 2 ways. It allows for less recharge while increasing demand. And as was noted earlier, there is no total regional number for how much all of our existing applications and adjacent counties are withdrawing from the aquifer. With not having that number, even a small area adjacent to Lake Hernando, Salapopka, which are part of the Withlacoochee Regional Recharge, as well as future water supply. You've heard me talk about that before. That impact is not considered in this application. Additionally, the taking of large specimen trees being replaced by smaller trees, the quantity of trees is not equal to the quality of trees. And I know that we have a new tree ordinance, but the overarching issue is that we need to do better if we're going to live in harmony with nature. Additionally, the proposal for the impervious surface ratio, turf grass, lawns, no requirements for Florida native landscaping. All of that results in not only a runoff that can pollute the groundwater, but it's not sustainable in the long term. Part of the PDC's role, I believe, is to educate developers moving forward for our future land use. And that's what we would encourage you to do here. It strikes me odd that all of the amenities are devoted to retirees, to human use, but there's really no consideration for amenities and techniques that could be more sustainable, such as, aiming for native plant biomass on the property. EPA standards for impervious surface ratio are 10% to be ecologically and environmentally sound. I realize that's not practical. Their highest cutoff is 40%. Rain gardens, bioswales, lawn alternatives for vehicle parking to reduce some of that ISR, living mulch, native plants, all those things are tools that developers could be using to create living spaces that work with nature as well as support our human community. The higher density is part of Florida, Thousand Friends of Florida. It's a plan they have for infilling in already developed areas like Lake Wales or Inverness. But this is a heavily treated area next to a lake chain that's part of our primary future drinking water resource, and it should be developed as lightly as possible. We would ask that you not change the current zoning on this parcel by right. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Ms. Orlandi. Next speaker.
PJ Offhammer, Citrus County. I think most of my things have been covered, so I'm going to run through them real quickly. But I would just like to give you a visual. This is 2 inches. This would be 2-inch caliper of trees that they would be planting. These are sticks. They're not trees. The amount of time it would take for something to grow in and become something that wildlife could use would be years. They're talking about taking 70% of the trees that have been there, old growth trees, and leaving 30%, talking about them being diseased, but they don't have any reports saying what the disease is or how it came about. I have dead trees in my yard on purpose because I have woodpeckers. I have animals that live in those trees and make use of the dead trees. My nightmare, growing up in Miami, my dad worked for the zoning department, and I used to go on inspections with him. Yeah, it was great. So I got to see this state being destroyed by developments like this. And my nightmare is to have this come in our natural area, too dense. Drainage retention is open spaces, and most of you know that that's the hill I'm going to die on, that drainage retention areas should not be used as open space calculations. That's double dipping. I'm sorry. They could put in 2-inch crepe myrtles all along their little roadways. A tree it's allowed because it doesn't use a lot of water, but it's from China, and it provides absolutely zero purpose other than some relatively nice-looking flowers for a few months of the year. Wildlife doesn't use it. Pollinators don't use it. It's a useless tree compared to the old-growth trees and the forested habitat in there. You know, you guys have heard me from the last couple meetings that I spend a lot of time in 2 Mile Prairie, and I know how heavily wildlife that area is. I know that there are uncommon plants on the edge of this parcel that they probably don't even know about, that I've been monitoring for probably 10 years because they are so hard to find. This is not compatible with the area. You cannot compare it to River Manor or whatever that's called over there that was platted before we had a comp plan. You can't compare it to the 10 40-acre sites. Nobody's talked about Holder being right there. What's going to happen with an industrial area that suddenly has an overly dense retiree population that the locals can't even afford to buy and if you're not 55, you can't live there anyway? How does this make sense for Citrus County? What does it give us? Nothing. It's going to give us 667 homes for people that are going to come here and demand services that we can't provide because residential doesn't pay for itself. So I urge you to deny this. Thank you very much.
Next speaker.
Hello, Commission. My name is Eric Gable on behalf of River Oaks Properties, Inc. The general issues being raised here by area property owners are real, and I certainly respect every one of them. But these have already been addressed legislatively by this being in a planned service area, by the fact that LDC has parameters as what development requires, and other ordinances which affect the property. Pulte Homes is a high-quality developer. Their projects always pay their fair share, offset any and all negative impacts, build a beautiful community, attract quality residents, and contribute positively to the local economy. Pulte is also committed to addressing all the environment, having heard it today, all of the environmental impacts of its development as required by law and all the FWC regulations. Pulte is committed to expanding the area, the territory, and capacity of Citrus County utilities to extend the sewer and water and all the roads so that the capacity is not lessened by their construction. I can appreciate that the citizens in PDC wish to protect the area from a data center, but I sincerely hope you won't resist a quality residential development in this area and allow new residents to enjoy the beautiful Citrus County in a way that is developed consistent with the standards that the LDC, the Board of County Commissioners, and through all its ordinances have set forth. And that is the bottom line. They just want to develop the property in line, lessen the impacts, and add beauty, and let other residents enjoy Citrus County. So for all those reasons, I'm for this.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Hello, Commissioners. I'm Paul Darty, 3481 West King B Street, Lecanto, Florida. Just a couple of observations here. Nowhere in any of the presentations did I hear any mention of the soil types on this property. With a history of mining in this county, I'd suspect that you probably would find some mine spoil areas on this property. And I think it would behoove the commission, before they render a result on this, to take a look and see if that is true. If it is true, mining soil types tend to be resistive to the passage of water. They tend to be clays, silts, things like that, and it can make an ISR do things that you might not think it would do normally. Just keep that in mind when you make your decisions, please. One more little observation here. We've had some talk about Tram Road, who owns it, who paves it, what it's used for. Did anybody discuss a potential emergency exit from this property in the event of hurricane or fire or some other kind of thing of that nature? I heard said that it was not going to be used at all and kind of walled off by a buffer. They want to reconsider that too. And last but not least, I guess, there's a trend to find properties of the LDR nature in this county and develop them by upping the zoning, you might say. I've never seen the zoning go in the opposite direction, from MDR to LDR or something like that. This is disturbing because these properties get valued more simply because a change is made in zoning. And I have watched properties, mine in particular, go down in their potential to be resold by other people getting an upgrade of their property around me and sitting on it for years and years and years. Keep that in mind too, because this kind of trend, somebody referred to it as the villages, does in effect, in some property cases, degrade the property values of those around them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Last call. We are going to close the public portion of the meeting. We're also going to bring out the if your phone rings policy next time. You're going to donate $20 every time it dings or rings or anything like that, and we're going to give it to the Sierra Club or one of these other nature clubs around the county. So be ready.
He says in jest.
We're gonna let Miss Lynn decide where the donations go, so it's all proper. We're gonna close the public portion of the meeting. Bring it back to Mr. Batzel for any rebuttal. Rebuttal only, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm going to keep it brief. I think we've already addressed most of the items that were discussed during public comment. I'm just going to hit a few high points. The important takeaway concerning Tram Road, there's a history that we won't get into as it relates to an old railroad easement, an additional railroad easement that encumbers a portion of that property, and then some county rights, because when the county comes in and maintains the road for a term of years, it is deemed dedicated by statute, meaning it becomes a county road. So we're dealing with all of that. The takeaway is we are not going to do anything adverse to Tram Road, those who use it, or the county's obligation to maintain it. We are going to construct a buffer on the east side of it to make sure that there's a nice visual buffer, and that's all. So that's where the Tram Road conversation lands. Heard some concerns, of course, about stormwater, runoff, flooding. I just wanted to, as this board knows, maybe for the benefit of the public, let them assure everyone that both the county and the Water Management District make us go through quite a bit after a rezoning to ensure that post-development there are no adverse impacts and that it performs better than pre-development and has no adverse impacts on anyone. There was discussion of lot size. I think that was clarified by Mr. Hockadell, but in short, we comply with the code's minimum lot size requirements. And I'm sorry if I misunderstood that question the first time, which I definitely did, or else I would have pointed out that we can comply. There's been discussion about density, and I think it was misleading. We are applying density in the way that the land development code provides that is provided, as Mr. Hockadell told you, on a gross acreage basis. And obviously we're at the extreme low end of the 2.1, 2 to 6 that would be provided or allowed of a PUD with this future land use and atlas designation. As it relates to what the code says and how we're proceeding, as it relates to trees, we've discussed it here to answer any questions, but in short, we are preserving to the extent we can preserve and then exceeding code requirements for both preservation and replanting after the fact. So if there are any questions, we are available and happy to address them, but otherwise we would certainly appreciate your recommendation of approval with the conditions as amended when Mr. Hockadell read them into the record, including the discussion about buffering, which we are happy to work with staff on.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We are going to close the public portion of the meeting. We've had the rebuttal. Bring it back to the board for discussions, motions. Obviously, no questions. Anyone want to open it up? Okay, so I will. I don't ever get the opportunity to talk first, so I'll take this one. So, lifelong Citrus County resident, 51 years old now, lived here since I was probably 4 years old. Floridian, have seen the things that are happening in Florida. Just start off with the conversation. Mr. Batzel's not a bad guy. Mr. Gibbs is not a bad guy. Pulte Holmes, these are not bad people. I know that developers, big bad evil developers, they get vilified, and I think that that's wrong. It's just a job. They have a job, just like we all have jobs. When I hear the talk about this particular subdivision, I can't help but think, I'm a staunch supporter in private property rights. I believe in private property rights. I think that private property rights should be upheld. This particular development and proposal, the question is to me, is it compatible? Is it compatible with this area? Is it compatible with the surrounding areas? Development is 2.5 acres or 2.5 homes per acre. I understand the calculation. I think some people kind of get that a little bit confused, but it's an overall gross acreage divided by how many homes are in it. One of the problems I have with this particular development, and I will have this problem with almost all the developments moving forward, is the ISR. So we're not really upzoning this property by redeveloping this per se, but by creating a 50% ISR property-wide, we are taking a property that's zoned LDR and turning it into an MDR property. So I have issue with that. I believe that the LDR properties were zoned LDR for a reason, just like the CLR and the RUR properties were zoned for those reasons. Those areas are more environmentally sensitive. Those areas in the past were looked at and determined by whoever was part of making up that plan that thought that those areas should be kept as a more, as a less dense, less populated area. And I believe that we should uphold those. The question popped into my mind when Mr. Batzel was making his presentation, talking about the people that this is what the people want. This is what the people that are coming here. But I had a question. Do we care more about what the people that don't live here want, or do we care more about what the people that do live here want? And personally, I think we should care more about what the people that do live here want. A lot of people in this community, you can see it all over, Facebook and all of the development. Listen, Florida's developing. There's not a lot that we can do. The only thing that we can do is we can make sure by meetings like this that we don't allow or we don't encourage, overdevelopment. I don't really think that this is a project of overdevelopment. What I do think it is I just think it's a project that's in the wrong location. What happened to just like regular neighborhoods where we just have streets and houses? People don't want to pay all these HOA fees and all these CDD fees. And I understand what's not and what is economically viable, but, gone are the days of old Louis Lott and his neighborhoods where it's just 2 houses on an acre and it's a paved road and your DRAs to handle the runoff. And I think that that's sad. Citrus County is already a resort community. Why do we need to build all these homeowners associations that are geared toward resort style amenities? This is a resort already. We have all of the lakes, we have all of these rivers, we have all of the beaches, we have all of this wildlife. I just think, I said it before when we talked about, I missed the last meeting with the holder in the industrial park, unfortunately, or fortunately. Thank you, Ms. Collins, you did a great job. But Citrus County is different. This county is different than Hernando County. It's different than Sumter County. It's different than Pasco County. It's different than all of those counties. And I feel like Citrus County is the starting line for what's going north. And why can't Citrus County lead? Why can't we lead and help direct the path of showing the development and what style development goes north? And let these developers, they can change, just like Miss Orlandi said. They can create and do whatever they want to do. It's a development. Literally, it's brand new. It's an open slate. Create more natural style developments. Look towards more natural, more earthy, more environmental. I know that it's not as cost worthy a lot of times, but this is what the people want. We have all of these forests and everything that starts here at the Nature Coast in Citrus County. And I think that Citrus County should be the beacon and the light for all of these counties to the north, Levy County, all of these counties, everybody up there, they need to get ready because all of this stuff is heading in their direction. That's just a long-winded way of me saying that I don't support this application, gentlemen. I appreciate everything that you've done. I don't vilify you, Mr. Batzel. If I ever had a project, you would probably be the person that I would call. Mr. Gibbs, you do great work too. Your presentation is amazing. I just think it's in the wrong location, and it's just that particular side of Citrus County. It's got its natural preserved, the beauty that's over there. And I think that we should do everything that we can do in our power to preserve that. Ms. Collins?
So it is a good plan, and I appreciate cluster development because it does allow for open space, and I know you've tried to do that. If doesn't put a burden on the local roads, but it does use, of course, State Road 200, which is an hurricane evacuation road. It's not built at its capacity, at its size for a principal arterial. So I do find that in that sense, increasing the number of lots right now does put a burden and is incompatible with the existing infrastructure of that road system. To that extent, I'm also concerned about the ISR, and I feel the ISR is incompatible with the area. What's interesting is just, looking at it and the numbers, even if you did the 2 units per acre, which is allowed by right, you'd still have to do a PUD because you still have to account for the road systems and the drainage retention master plan and all of that. But at this point, I just feel the ISR is too high overall per plat. It's just incompatible for those reasons, the ISR, the existing infrastructure, the road system. I appreciate that you would build out the water sewer, I get that. But I'm sort of, on the edge because those are the main things that I'm concerned about. I think it just tips it so that it's incompatible at this time. So I don't know if you want to bring it back.
I guess it's my turn. I have some different feelings than what have been expressed here. I believe our job is to, as I said earlier, take a look at the comprehensive plan, take a look at the LDC, understand if a particular application is compatible, and not take a look at necessarily how we want to individually wish our county was. I'm a firm believer that development is coming. Responsible development is important. Creditable companies are important. So that's where I come from related to expansion and development. Now I'm going to talk about the specific issues related to the application, specifically to the LDC and the comp plan. Number one, we have a trend that we have given exception to the ISR and intensity for several recent developments. And I've been doing this now for 2.5 years, and I'm learning. I really wish I could have learned 2.5 years ago because you learn some of the impacts. And we've granted some of those deviations, which in hindsight, I might have different feelings about. I don't accept the intensity of this particular application. I think the particular parcel has some challenges to it related to the topography, related to the wetlands that are both there now and would have to be recreated as water retention. So I cannot accept the intensity of this. I think that's a bad trend. I think it's a trend we have to get away from. In terms of the density, dwelling units per acre, and specifically boring in as to what the LDC and the comp plan permit, that rule is being applied appropriately. So we can't find fault with the fact that a developer or an applicant is looking at 2.4 units per acre, and yet because of the size of the parcel, they want to put more units in a particular area of that parcel. That's their choice. That's taste. We determined that the 40-foot width of a lot, although not my particular cup of tea, in fact does meet the LDC if it's provided with both water and sewer. So I think we need to get away from not applying the appropriate metrics. The issue related to Tram Road, I think needs to be fixed before, regardless of our vote here today, needs to be fixed before it goes to the Board of County Commissioners. I appreciate the representations, but I think that needs to be addressed. So here's where I'm at on this. I'm not going to support this, and I'm not going to support it basically because you didn't meet the test of the intensity, you didn't meet the test related to the specifically the intensity. The other areas, the other comments, and I have to respectfully disagree with my colleagues, this is a beautiful part of the world, but because we're here doesn't mean we can lock the gate. With developers come through and have reasonable, well laid out, well thought out plans, I think we have to have a standard, and the standard's the LDC and the comp plan. We can't take a standard and just say my feeling is. But having said that, I will not support this today.
Mr.
Anyone
Chair.
else?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Barmez.
I just want to echo some of the things that we've already heard from our, from the commissioners. The compatibility part of the area, I don't think that this project is very compatible for the area. I live in Hernando. I think Hernando and Holder is kind of like a separate community from Citrus County. We're a very rural, nature type people that live. We hunt, we fish, we eat what we, catch. We have fun. We don't want to live on top of each other. We want a little bit of elbow room. When you bring in 667 houses on State Road 200 with a no plan, and it could be a partial plan, conversation with FDOT does not constitute a plan. With the widening of 200 coming within the next 5 to 7 years, and the maintaining of a 100-year-old bridge that still ain't being built, we have no grocery stores. We have to, if you live in that area, you're either taking our tax dollars to Marion County to go grocery shopping, or you're going to drive 30 minutes down to Inverness, which most of us drive to Inverness because we love the county. But you bring in people from outside the county that can afford this kind of a subdivision or this type of living, is going to go to Marion County. So we're not going to retain most of those tax dollars. There is a whole bunch of wildlife in this area, a lot more than what the applicant has presented. I've seen everything but a bear that was mentioned today. I'd love to see a bear in my neighborhood. I think it'd be pretty cool. One thing that this county needs, no matter where it's at in this county, is workforce housing or affordable housing. These developers come in, they want to build and, let's make money every month on HOA fees and overpriced houses and cram them all in. I am not a firm believer that a DRA is open space. I think a DRA is exactly what it is a detention retaining area, not an open space where the kids can go down and play football or throw a baseball. Do they do that? Yes, but it should not be categorized as the same. I agree with my colleagues with the ISR. I think it's too intense. Taking it from LDR to MDR standards is inappropriate for this project, and probably inappropriate no matter where it's at in Citrus County. The IRS should be determined by the LDC, not by us or the county commissioners. It's already been determined by a very large group of professionals. So, Mr. Chair, for a purpose of a motion, the Planning and Development Commissioner finds application number PUD 2026-00002 inconsistent with the Citrus County Comprehensive Plan and Citrus County Land Development Code, and that this board recommends denial of this application to the Board of County Commissioners based upon the evidence and the testimony presented and the staff report and the conclusions regarding this petition.
Second.
We have a motion for denial with a first by Mr. Barmez and a second by Mr. Facemeyer. Is there any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, this is scheduled for the Board of County Commissioners on August 25th at 5:01 p.m.
Thank you. Do you want to refresh on some
Landon, do you
updates?
have
Mr.
anything?
Landon, you've been gone all this time. You don't have anything for us? Come on, man, bring something.
Missed you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I bet you did.
Anybody else? No? We good?
One time, one application next time.
Yay!
Again, thank you, Joanna, for recognizing us on national TV and the Board of County Commissioners meeting. Yes.